Chapter 645. An ear-piercing alarm sounded. Someone was shouting and running outside the office building. It was a mess. Ling Hao and Yushanhe also rushed to the window to see what had happened. They saw the villa with billowing smoke and the panicked Special Forces guards. The explosion was obvious, but no one knew what had happened. "Mr. Xia, what's going on?" Yushanhe quickly came to his senses. Xia Lei also went to the window and took a look. Then, he said in surprise, "Aya, why did my house explode?" He emphasized the words, "my house." Was he trying to remind the people in the office that it was his house that was built, not someone else's house, not even a public house? "You." Fan stared at Charlotte and was stunned for a long time before she said, "You blew up my lab." "Did I blow it up?" Charlotte said calmly. "Would I blow up my own villa? It's worth millions." "Charlotte!" Ling Hao was finally angry. He shouted at Charlotte, "How dare you!" Xia Lei laughed. "All of you are finally not pretending with me anymore. Are you going to fall out with me? Charlotte, do you think I don't dare to teach you a lesson?" Ling Hao was furious. Xia Lei still looked like he wouldn't panic even if the fire fell on his feet. "You dare, of course you dare. But I'm not a rabbit that can be stepped on. A rabbit will bite when it's anxious. So, if you want to teach me a lesson, you can try." Ling Hao turned hostile. Charlotte didn't want to be outdone, so he also showed his cards. "Charlotte, you called us here for this?" Yushanhe could still bear it, but his expression was extremely cold. Xia Lei smiled. "That's right. This is the reason why I called all of you here. I want you to know what kind of person I, Charlotte, am and where my bottom line is." Everyone in the room stared at Charlotte. Charlotte looked at Ling Hao and said, Mr. Z from the ZN Bureau, am I right?" Ling Hao was stunned. He had been hiding his identity all this time, and he was confident that he had not revealed any flaws. But now, Charlotte had revealed his true identity. Charlotte's gaze shifted to Fan again. Fan, I don't know your code name in the ZN Bureau, but I know you have the same position as Mr. Z, right? Fan moved her lips. She wanted to say something but didn't. Charlotte continued, "You and Mr. Z put on a good show and I was fooled by you. But because of a bureau chief position, you messed up the show again. If you and Mr. Z didn't fight for your own interests and didn't get involved in this, I wouldn't have seen through your identity. You can continue to stay by my side and continue to lie to me. Isn't that good?" Ling Hao's face was already very ugly. In the beginning, according to the plan formulated by the ZN Bureau, with Songbai as a cover, Fan successfully lurked around Charlotte and gained Charlotte's trust. This plan was executed quite beautifully, and could even be said to be perfect. According to this plan, Charlotte's secrets would be dug out. However, at this critical juncture, the old bureau chief of the ZN Bureau was about to retire. In order to compete for political capital, he and Fan got involved in the merger of the Thunder Horse Military Factory, Shenzhou Industrial Group, and Hanwu Weapons Company, which led to the present result. When did you find out my identity?" Fan's voice sounded a little weak. Charlotte smiled. "At first, I thought Miss Su was the one who competed with Mr. Z, but the trick you directed was too fake. It was hard for me not to see through it. In fact, after Su Xiao showed him the original report, he suspected her. Later, when he saw Fan being attacked and fainted in the laboratory, he used his microvision ability to collect all the traces in the laboratory, thus confirming her identity. Su Xiao, from beginning to end, was just a cover, a scapegoat. Su Xiao's status in the ZN Bureau was at most equal to that of Song Baiqing. The only difference was that Song Baiqing worked for Ling Hao, while she worked for Fan. Fan was silent because she had nothing to say. Her mood was also extremely complicated. "Mr. Xia, do you think it's okay?" "You're wrong, you'll regret it." Su Xiao put her hand into her pocket. She searched around, but nothing came out. She suddenly pointed at Charlotte and said angrily, "You stole my phone." Charlotte spread out his hands. You said I stole your phone? After a pause, he laughed. I'm a billionaire. Why would I steal your phone? How much do you earn a year? I'll give you 10 times that. You can come to my company to clean the toilet. You? Su Zhao's face turned green from being humiliated like this. How about I give you 100 iPhones as long as you apologize to me? Charlotte said. At this time, Fan Fan took out her phone. She pulled out the card slot and looked at it. Her face suddenly changed. Charlotte, you took my memory card. Are you two out of your mind? One said I stole the phone and the other said I stole the memory card. Do you have evidence? If not, Charlotte suddenly said angrily, then shut the F***ck up. The room suddenly became quiet, so quiet that a pin drop could be heard. It was not because Charlotte's words carried weight, nor was it because these people were afraid of Charlotte. On the contrary, these people could not believe that Charlotte would curse at them. A prey that was regarded as prey and hunted by a group of hunters actually roared at a group of hunters. The reason why the prey dared to roar at a group of hunters was because he had secretly destroyed the hunters' guns. Just last night, he had tortured Fan Fan for most of the night. When she was exhausted, he secretly removed the memory card in her phone. The original report was in that memory card. Just more than 10 minutes ago, he took advantage of the opportunity to get close to Su Zhao and stole her phone, because Su Zhao's phone had a photo of the original report. As for where the USB came from and who copied it, he also had an answer. It was Fan Fan. The USB had Fan Fan's fingerprints on it. It was not difficult to imagine that with Su Zhao's identity, it was impossible for Fan Fan to really let her have such an important original report. Even if it was given to Su Zhao, she would most likely order her to not copy it. Therefore, as long as he blew up the lab, stole Fan Fan's phone memory card, stole Su Zhao's phone, and destroyed the USB, the original report would disappear. Now, what could Fan Fan and Su Zhao use to threaten him? And even if Fan Fan still had the original report in her hands, he was not afraid, because this was not his only way to fight back. Charlotte, I don't care about the matter between you and the ZN Bureau. I just want to say one thing. Are you going to sign this contract or not? Yushanha couldn't stand it anymore. He was also angry. Charlotte walked to the desk, woke up the monitor of the office computer, and then turned the monitor to face Yushanha, Mu Jianfeng, and the others. The computer monitor showed the 2 core workshops of the Thunder Horse Army Factory. One was the core workshop of the first generation of the Thunder Dragon Intelligent Machine Tool, and the other was the core workshop of the second generation of the Thunder Dragon Intelligent Machine Tool. There was no one in these 2 workshops, but whether it was the complete first generation of the Thunder Dragon Intelligent Machine Tool or the second generation of the Thunder Dragon Intelligent Machine Tool that had not been assembled, they were all installed with explosive devices. The scene suddenly changed. A seductive man was holding a remote control and smiling at a camera. You actually want to blow up your machine tool? Mu Jianfeng couldn't stand it anymore. He pointed at Charlotte and his fingers were trembling. Charlotte said faintly, You already said it's my machine tool. Why can't I blow it up? Yushanha roared, How dare you? Charlotte's voice suddenly turned cold. Do I dare to blow it up? Good question, why don't we make a bet? As long as you say you dare again, I'll immediately get my people to blow it up. Yushanha pointed at Charlotte's nose, but he couldn't say the last word, dare. If Charlotte blew up the only 2 most advanced intelligent machine tools in the world, who could bear the responsibility? What's more, these 2 intelligent machine tools could only be made by Charlotte alone. If Charlotte blew up these 2 intelligent machine tools, he wouldn't be able to make them in the future. The military industry here was a lot behind Europe and the United States. If such a thing happened, wouldn't the people above trample him into the mud? In fact, no matter what, Charlotte's real trump card, all his confidence, was his own ability. He was the only person who could make the Thunder Dragon intelligent machine tool, and he was also the person who could improve the level of the entire military industry. His own value, to a certain extent, was tied to the interests of the country. Who dared to touch him? Whether it was Mr. Z, Fan Fan, or Ushanha, he would appear humble and polite when he was tolerant. After all, this was the reality of society. People didn't fight with officials. He also had to follow some rules. But once his bottom line was crossed, he would shed all pretense of cordiality, and he wouldn't give face to anyone. You don't dare to bet with me? Charlotte sneered. I can blow up my machine tool at any time and go overseas to build a factory. As long as I still have a pair of hands, I can make the third Thunder Dragon intelligent machine tool, the fourth Thunder Dragon intelligent machine tool, and I can make a comeback at any time. But if you fall, it will be difficult for you to get up again in this life. Ushanha's face was livid and he couldn't say a word. Now, I'll give you 1 minute to get out of my place. Otherwise, I'll blow up my machine. In the future, the XL 2500 sniper rifle and Gale assault rifle will disappear from this land. All the advanced technology I've mastered will disappear as well. Charlotte raised his wrist and looked at his watch. I'll start the countdown now. 10 seconds have passed. Mu Jianfeng and Yi Kuan looked at Ushanha at the same time. Ushanha gritted his teeth and said hatefully, "Let's go." Mu Jianfeng and Yi Kuan followed Ushanha and left. Ling Hao pointed at Charlotte with his finger. "You have guts, very good." After that, he also left. Fan Fan and Su Xiao didn't say anything, and they also walked to the office door. Charlotte suddenly stopped. Fan Fan, wait a minute. Fan Fan looked back at Charlotte. What else do you want to say? Charlotte said, the X-Mystic Gold project still needs your help. If you are still willing, you can find me at any time. Fan Fan was stunned. You still want to work with me? It's just the X-Mystic Gold project. I don't want to be anyone's lab rat anymore. After a pause, Charlotte added, you should understand what I mean. Fan Fan nodded and left. Charlotte let out a long sigh of relief. The reason why he still let Fan Fan participate in the X-Mystic Gold project was not because of Fan Fan's ability, but as a way to balance things out. He now had a falling out with Ling Hao. If he became an enemy of Fan Fan, it was tantamount to becoming an enemy of the entire ZN Bureau. This was not the result he wanted. He exposed Fan Fan's identity, and then extended an olive branch to her to help her compete with Ling Hao. This was tantamount to having one more friend in the ZN Bureau. No matter what the situation was, it was better to have one more friend than one more enemy. What's more, although the original report was destroyed, Fan Fan knew some of his secrets. He wanted to rope her in so that he could continue to keep this secret. Fan Fan's nod was also an expression of reaching an agreement. Chapter 646. The summer night sky was dotted with stars, and the cool night breeze blew in through the window, taking away the heat in the room. But it could only take away a part of it, not all of it, because the man and woman in the room were releasing the heat in their bodies. There seemed to be nothing in this world that could stop a man and a woman from enjoying each other's body and emotions. The monotonous exercise seemed to have infinite magic, luring the man and woman to go deeper and deeper, and then they would explode together. You did a great job today. Long Bing softly nestled in Xia Lei's arms, her voice lacking the slightest strength. Are you talking about blowing up Fan Fan's lab? I've wanted to do that for a long time. Charlotte's hand was around her snow-white neck, but his forearm was around her shoulder, letting his palm fall on the pile of snow-white skin. He was a little proud of the woman's praise. No, I'm not talking about that, Long Bing said lazily. Charlotte looked surprised. Then what are you talking about? Long Bing's hand slid down from his abdomen. Well, I'm talking about this. Charlotte was speechless. Section Chief Long could be humorous sometimes, and it was Gu Yu's dry humor. I'm telling the truth. Didn't you notice? You're getting better and better at that. Long Bing wasn't a shy woman. She didn't beat around the bush at all when she said it. It was very natural. Charlotte smiled. Let's talk about something else. But if you want, I can do it again. No, no, no. Let me rest for a while. Long Bing changed the subject. What do you want to talk about? Where did Su Xiao take you? I don't know. Long Bing recalled the situation at the time. When I was brought there, she put a hood over my head. I couldn't see the road, but I knew that she deliberately drove the car in a big circle to bring me to the destination. Then she took me to a closed interrogation room. What did she ask you? I didn't ask anything. You didn't ask anything. She really didn't ask anything. I stayed there for nearly 30 hours, and then she took me to your company, Long Bing said. He didn't ask anything. It was obvious that he didn't want Long Bing to know too much. From the beginning, Fan Fan had only treated her as a bargaining chip that could be used, but this bargaining chip had always been active on the periphery of the gambling house, not involved in the core of the gambling house. Charlotte thought to himself, Fan Fan is really not a simple woman. However, on one hand she's the most outstanding bioengineer in the country, and on the other hand she's a core member of the ZN Bureau. It would be strange if she's simple. He had been deceived by 3 women, Liang Xiao, Shintu Tianin, and Fan Fan. These 3 women were not simple, but if they were to rank first, second, and third, Fan Fan would be the well-deserved champion. In terms of lying, she was even better than Shintu Tianin. What are you thinking about? I'm the one who implicated you. Charlotte sighed and said apologetically, if it weren't for me, you wouldn't have encountered such a thing. Don't say things like that. I don't like to hear it. Long Bing glared at Charlotte. She knew that he had many secrets, but she never pried into them. She also knew that it was very unstable to be with him, but she never minded. Charlotte's heart was moved, and his palm also moved slightly. Then what do you like to hear? Long Bing suddenly turned over and pressed Charlotte under her body. Get in. Charlotte, in the dead of night, the sound of the wind and waves never ceased. The next morning, Long Bing left the Thunder Horse military factory. She was taken away by the ZN Bureau for investigation for no reason, but she didn't ask a single question from beginning to end. Charlotte sent Long Bing away and went to the villa alone. The villa wasn't destroyed, but only the room used by Fan Fan as a laboratory was blown up. More than half of the walls on both sides of the room had collapsed, but they weren't load-bearing walls, so they wouldn't affect the overall structure. As soon as Charlotte arrived, Wu Xiaogua strode towards him, his face full of anger. Mr. Xia, you brought in an engineering plastic box yesterday. The explosives were stored in that box, right? You're too reckless. Explosives? Charlotte said indifferently, don't make random guesses. Let me tell you, there are cosmetics in that box. You. Wu Xiaogua was furious on the spot. As the colonel of the special forces that guarded the ancient alloy, when had he ever been teased like this? Charlotte used to be polite to him, but now he didn't have the slightest bit of respect for him. Charlotte continued, Colonel Wu, let me tell you, no matter who you're ordered by, no matter who you're working for, I have to remind you that this is my place. If you want me to respect you, you have to respect me first. If you don't respect me, from today onwards, there will be no food for you in the Thunder Horse military factory. There will be no place for you to stay. Oh, by the way, all the bathrooms in the Thunder Horse military factory are not for you to use. You have to go outside to solve it. Wu Xiaogua was stunned. Your duty is to protect the ancient alloy, and your authority is limited to that. Do you understand what I mean? It's best if you don't get involved in other things. That's all I'm saying. If you object, I'll immediately report it to the higher-ups and ask them to replace you. Charlotte's tone was very tough. No, 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 I understand what you mean. Wu Xiaogua then softened. I don't know what my people have done to make you misunderstand, Mr. Xia, but I promise you that they will never appear again. Charlotte revealed a smile. Then it's a deal, Colonel Wu. It's a deal. Wu Xiaogua added, by the way, Mr. Xia, when are you going to repair this villa? Charlotte glanced at the destroyed laboratory and said, I don't plan to repair it. Just leave it like this. Just like this. Wu Xiaogua looked very surprised. Charlotte looked at Wu Xiaogua. Can't I? Wu Xiaogua shrugged. You have the final say in your house. Alright, you can go back to your work. Charlotte directly entered Fan's laboratory through the hole in the wall that had been blown open. The reason why he didn't repair the laboratory was very simple, and that was to let everyone who came here see its existence at a glance. And his determination, it's mine, I'll blow it up if I want it to. The laboratory was a mess. All kinds of scientific research equipment were smashed into pieces, and all the materials and samples inside were blown up. Seeing the mess in the room, Charlotte's mood relaxed. By blowing up the laboratory, turning against the ZN Bureau, and turning against Yushanha, he had already sent a strong and tough signal to some people. I, Charlotte, am not someone you can manipulate however you want. If you want advanced technology, then don't touch me. If you want me as your goal, then you won't get anything. You can have your cake and eat it too. He must let some people understand this and let them know the price they need to pay for touching him. This incident was a turning point. Once he crossed this hurdle, his domestic resistance would temporarily disappear, and he could also shift his energy to the international market and the X-Secret Gold project. The sound of footsteps came from behind him. It was the unique sound of high heels tapping on the ground. Charlotte turned around and saw Fan. She was wearing a tight white t-shirt with a black miniskirt. The degree of her breasts bulging was exaggerated, and her slender waist set off the two peaks. Her round butt was hidden under the miniskirt, and it suddenly rose between her long legs and slender waist, giving a strong visual impact. She was still so sexy. Their eyes met. Charlotte was calm, but Fan looked a little awkward. Mr. Xia. Fan wanted to say something but stopped. Charlotte just nodded. Fan reached out and adjusted the frame of her glasses. Okay, I'm sorry. Charlotte nodded again. Fan shrugged. I say, don't you want to scold me a little? You can even give me a slap, I don't mind. I'm serious. Charlotte then said, is that necessary? What's the point of me scolding you and slapping you a few times? Then can we still? Fan stared at Charlotte out of the corner of her eye. She didn't finish her sentence, but she was already observing Charlotte's reaction. Although she didn't finish her sentence, Charlotte knew that she wanted to ask if they could go back to their previous relationship. He smiled. Do you want to continue studying me? You know I'm not talking about that, Fan said. Charlotte changed the topic. I know you and Ling Hao are competitors. I can help you get more political capital than him and help you get the director position that you want. But the condition is that you keep my secret. Also, you can't plot against me anymore. Fan smiled bitterly. I've already nodded and agreed to what you said yesterday. What I said was... The topic went back to the original point. Charlotte looked straight at Fan, but he couldn't tell if she was serious or pretending. He didn't know what other motives she had, such as continuing to study him, or getting pregnant with his super little Lei or something. She looked gentle and pretty like a university professor, but in fact she was a powerful and unfathomable person. Forget it. Maybe I'm too anxious. Fan smiled awkwardly. I'll give you some time, and some time for myself. Charlotte nodded. Fan said again, also, I have to make things clear. I lied to you, but you lied to me too. Don't deny it. You knew your motive when you came to hit on me. I knew you were lying to me, but I was willing to let you lie to me. The time I spent with you was the happiest time of my life, and I don't regret it at all. So, don't build a wall in your heart just because I lied to you. In fact, only 3 people know about your secret. Me, you, and my subordinate Su Xiao. She definitely has no problem with her loyalty, so you don't have to worry. Do you want to say that we're even? Charlotte smiled faintly. Well, then we're even. Then let's shake hands. Fan Fan reached out a soft hand to Charlotte. Charlotte held her hand. At that moment, he clearly felt a very obvious sensitive reaction on her skin. Such a reaction couldn't be fake. Don't observe. My special constitution is real. I didn't lie to you about that. Fan Fan rolled her eyes at Charlotte. It's not like you haven't done it with me before. It's not like you don't know what my situation is. Charlotte smiled a little awkwardly. All right. Fan Fan withdrew her hand. I brought you a gift today. You brought me a gift. I brought a CEO of China Construction Bank over. He's in your office. You can talk to him when you have time. He can lend you 1 billion, Fan Fan said. Charlotte. Chapter 647. It was a good thing that the bank had come looking for him. Walking out of the villa, Charlotte suddenly said, Fan Fan, wait for me. I'm going to the bathroom. Okay, I'll wait for you, Fan Fan said. Charlotte entered a bathroom in the villa and took out his phone to call Qin Xiang. Call my office's landline in 10 minutes and pretend to be someone from the bank. Got it? Qin Xiang's voice came from the phone. Why do you pretend to be someone from the bank? Don't worry about that. Just call them one by one and pretend to be the boss of ICBC or Agricultural Bank. Then what should I say? Whatever you say, but keep your voice down. Okay, I'll call in 10 minutes. Qin Xiang hung up. Charlotte put away his phone and left the bathroom after 2 minutes. After walking out of the villa, he led Fan Fan to the office building. The CEO of CCB, who followed Fan Fan, was obviously not the CEO of the main branch, but the CEO of a branch. His surname was Chunzhang, and he was in his 50s. He was fair and chubby, and it was obvious that he was a pampered person. This Chunzhang was very polite to Charlotte. As soon as Charlotte arrived, he stood up and greeted him. He took the initiative to shake hands with Charlotte, and his face was full of smiles. Chairman Xia, I came uninvited. I hope I didn't disturb you? Charlotte chuckled. CEO Chen, you're too polite. A few days ago, my people went to your bank to get a loan, but they ran into a wall everywhere. Now that you've come uninvited, I can't be happier. How is it disturbing? Chen Zhang looked at Fan Fan awkwardly. However, Fan Fan spoke up for Charlotte. That's right. It's your fault that your banks didn't give the Thunder Horse Army Factory a loan. The Thunder Horse Army Factory is such an outstanding enterprise. Are you afraid that you won't be able to get a loan? You guys sometimes care too much about someone's face. Is it that useful for someone to greet you? More useful than a market economy? Really? These words not only stunned Chen Zhang, but also stunned Charlotte. Didn't she have a part in greeting those banks? Fan Fan was the only one who could play the role of a bandit and a swordsman without changing her expression between the two roles. Ahem. Charlotte coughed twice and didn't expose Fan Fan's line. He changed the topic and said, Mr. Chen, what can I do for you? Chen Zhang sneered. Chairman Xia, what else could I possibly want from you? I knew that the Thunder Horse Military Factory urgently needed a loan of 20 billion, so I rushed over immediately. Look, I even brought the loan contract. As long as you sign it, the loan will be transferred to your account this afternoon. He really did bring the loan contract. It was in his briefcase. He took out the loan contract from his briefcase and placed 2 copies neatly on Charlotte's desk. Xia Lei glanced at the loan contract. He did not sign it, nor did he say that he would not sign it. Instead, he stared at the watch on his wrist from the corner of his eye. Chen Zhang said with a smile, Chairman Xia, take a look. If there's no problem, let's sign it. Charlotte said, there's no problem, but ring 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 ring. The phone on the desk suddenly rang. Sorry, I have to answer a call first. Charlotte picked up the phone and said, This is Charlotte, may I ask who you are? Qin Xiang's voice came from the receiver of the phone, as light as a mosquito. How many times did you and Longbing have sex in the lounge in your office last night? Several black lines suddenly appeared on Charlotte's forehead, but he still looked serious. Oh, so you are from ICBC? You want to give me a loan? Yes, I need a loan, but… Okay, let's not talk about the past. I also know that you have your difficulties. Let's get straight to the point. I want a loan of 20 billion. How much interest do you want? Qin Xiang's voice came from the phone. You don't know, just Department Chief Long's moans almost made me straighten. Chen Zhang didn't know who was calling Charlotte and what they were talking about. He looked at Fan Fan as if he was asking for help, but the latter looked like she didn't care. 2% interest for a year? Charlotte frowned. This is a bit high. I know it's a discount, but… 2%, can't it be lower? Then let me think about it. A year's interest was 6%, and ICBC's interest was 2%. This was indeed a big discount. Charlotte just put down the phone, and the phone rang again. Agricultural Bank? I say, what's going on with you? A few days ago, my people begged you for a loan, and you didn't even meet them. Okay, let's not talk about the past. I also know your difficulties, let's talk about it. 1% interest for a year? How much is 5 years? 8% in 5 years? Let me think about it, wait for my call. Chen Zhang secretly wiped the sweat on his forehead with the back of his hand. Charlotte put down the phone again, and it suddenly rang again. Charlotte was about to pick up the phone, but Chen Zhang suddenly reached out and held Charlotte's hand. Chairman Xia, don't answer the phone. How about this 5% interest for a 5-year loan we will lend to you? The interest for a 5-year loan was 15%, and Chen Zhang was offering 5% interest, which was a big discount. 20 billion, at least 3 billion interest for 5 years. Charlotte was obviously tempted, but he still pretended to be hesitant. At this time, Fan Fan said, how about this, President Chen, for my sake, give Charlotte another 2% discount and 1% discount. What do you think? This time, it was Chen Zhang's turn to hesitate. A 5-year interest rate of 5% was already a big discount, and another 2% discount would be 3%. This kind of loan interest rate was almost a full discount. One had to know that the interest rate of a loan was 200 million yuan in real money. Ring ring ring, ring ring ring. This time, Charlotte didn't wait for Chen Zhang to press his hand, and he picked up the phone. What are you doing? Why didn't you answer my call just now? Didn't you ask me to call? I said that you were having an affair with Longbing, and you got angry? You're a man. How can you be so calculative with a woman? Qin Xiang's voice. Charlotte's voice. Hua Xing? You guys are really… Okay, I'll let bygones be bygones. You're good friends with my wife? Hey, she's my ex-wife, okay. If you have something to say, then say it. I really need a loan, I want a 20 billion loan, just give me a 5-year interest rate. 15%? Okay. Chen Zhang abruptly pressed the end button on the phone. Mr. Chen, what do you mean by this? Charlotte looked at Chen Zhang. 1%. Chen Zhang gritted his teeth and said hatefully, 20 billion, 5-year interest rate of 1%, we will give you the loan. But we want to sign a long-term contract. The next time you want a loan, you have to consider us first. Charlotte shrugged. Fine, we will sign the contract now. Half an hour later, Chen Zhang left Charlotte's office. Fan Fan gave Charlotte a thumbs up. You're really ruthless. I gave you my face and lowered the interest rate to 3%, but you lowered it to 1%. Charlotte said, I can't help it. It's a market economy, and if he doesn't lend, someone else will lend to me. Fan Fan smiled. Those calls just now were really from ICBC, Agricultural Bank, etc.? The act just now could fool a person like Chen Zhang, but to fool a woman like Fan Fan, it was very difficult. What do you think? Charlotte looked at her. I believe you, Fanfan said. Then I also thank you, Charlotte said. Just based on the matter just now, Fanfan had actually helped a lot. If not for her using her face to bring Chen Zhang over, giving him a chance to act, and Chen Zhang giving face to Fanfan, he would not have been able to get such a low interest rate loan. Then how are you going to thank me? Fanfan crossed her legs. Her snow-white long legs drew a beautiful trajectory in the air, and there was a flash of white lace that disappeared in the blink of an eye. That scenery was mysterious, fertile, and extremely mature. Even if it appeared for a short time, it could still entice people to delve deeper and fantasize. A faint smile appeared on the corner of Charlotte's mouth. What do you want to do? My lab has been destroyed, I want to. Fanfan flipped her hair, but intentionally or unintentionally, she loosened her collar, revealing a patch of snow-white skin. Her skin was whiter than snow, and more tender than frost. Charlotte's eyes stared straight at her, but the words that should be said were not ambiguous at all. You won't have a new lab, at least not with me. Fanfan curled her lips. Is there no room for negotiation? Xiale said indifferently. You just tricked me. Don't tell me you expect me to jump into your pit again? Okay, I won't rebuild my lab. However, the X-Secret Gold project still has to be carried out. My grandfather and I will always be members of the X-Secret Gold project. Now I want to hear your plan. You said that you will help me get the position of the director of the ZN Bureau. Now I can only rely on the X-Secret Gold project. Fanfan said. Charlotte thought for a moment. Give me another 2 months. At that time, the Thunder Horse Army factory will probably have completed its comprehensive upgrade. The second generation of my Thunder Dragon intelligent machine tool should also be born. After that, I will give you an answer. 2 months. Fanfan furrowed her brows. This is the minimum amount of time needed. There is no room for negotiation. Okay, I'll come back after a while. Fanfan's long white legs drew a beautiful line in the air again. This time, her legs paused in the air for twice as long as the previous time. It was also in this period of time that the mysterious protruding and fertile landscape was revealed once again. Charlotte's lower abdomen was already ignited by her, but his expression was still calm. He said indifferently, "What are you doing here?" Don't forget, in addition to the X-Secret Gold project, I am also studying your little tadpoles. I will soon make an antidote. Don't you want to try it? Try it? The charcoal fire in Charlotte's lower abdomen burned even more vigorously. Fanfan simply spread her legs and didn't mind Charlotte's glowing eyes. Her smile also became sweeter and more attractive. Also, although you blew up my lab and destroyed the data and samples, I know your secret. You want me to help you keep your secret. I am taking a huge risk. Do you think I will be stupid enough to help you with a promise to help me get the position of the ZN Bureau Director? You have to pay the same price. Charlotte frowned. What do you want? Fanfan said, I am best at bioengineering. I am very curious about what the offspring of a person like you will be like. I think he will be a miracle. You want a child? For you, my request is actually very pleasant, isn't it? Haven't you slept with enough women? I am not one more. Charlotte, Fanfan's hand slowly reached into her short skirt. The small white lace slowly moved down and finally stopped on her knees. Damn. Charlotte suddenly became like an enraged beast as he pounced on the snow-white lamb sitting on the sofa. You asked for this, bitch. Ah! Fanfan exclaimed. The sofa suddenly fell to the ground. But this was not the end, but the beginning. There was no gentleness, only a beast. Chapter 648. At the same time, in a room of a hotel, Gu Qian was sitting on the sofa watching TV. The program on the TV was the live broadcast of China's CATV. The dignified and beautiful female host, the handsome and sunny Charlotte, gave people the impression that this news program was not a national TV news host interviewing the boss of a military enterprise, but an entertainment host interviewing a recently popular male star. Do you want me to sneak back to China? Is there no progress, or you don't want to tell me? That kid really doesn't know how to appreciate favors. Yi Kuan looked at Charlotte, who was being interviewed by the CATV female host. His eyes were like a poisonous snake. He's not in the system. Why does he want such a big credit? Honor? How much is honor worth? Going against all of us for the sake of honor. I think he's a complete idiot. Can he defeat all of us? There's no progress yet. There were actually 2 reasons why he couldn't let Fan know, one of which was naturally the correct antidote, and the other was the anti-antidote that restrained the correct antidote. Fan wanted a child of his. She called it a miracle. Would he give it to her if she wanted it? Of course not. As long as Fan developed the correct antidote, then his anti-antidote would work. The biological engineer called it a miracle child. Only the woman he wanted to give birth to his child would be able to give birth to his child. And that woman must be the woman he loved deeply. I advise you to give up this idea. Don't forget, that kid has something on us. I never thought it would be like this. Ling Hao smiled bitterly. We've worked hard for nothing, exposed our identity and got nothing. What else can we do? Mu Jianfeng's eyes fell on Yu Shanhe in the distance. A sneer appeared on the corner of his mouth. Even Mr. Yu can't suppress Charlotte. What else can we do? The Americans probably can't sit still. Among the visitors, Sherborne's voice was very loud. Life is full of ups and downs. Now we don't have to look at the Americans. Surround us? Dream on. Without outside interference, Charlotte devoted most of his energy to building the 2nd generation of the Lei Long smart machine tool. The rest of his energy was devoted to developing an antidote. His brain had already come to the correct conclusion. It was not difficult to develop an antidote to suppress the tadpole toxin. The difficult part was to find a lot of biological and medicinal materials, and he could not let Fan know. My struggles? That would take an entire day. However, I will simply say a few words. In this world, there is nothing that cannot be done, only things that cannot be done. We young people should first set a correct goal, and then strive hard towards this goal. It doesn't matter how much sweat and effort you put in, as long as you do it, you will reap the rewards. Fan raised her eyebrows slightly. Don't talk nonsense. I only came to the Thunder Horse military factory for the X-Secret Gold project. Charlotte and I are just partners. We can't even be considered friends. When I lurked around Charlotte, it was also to carry out the orders of the old director. Charlotte already knew my identity and purpose. He was very wary of me and almost didn't even talk to me. There were also people who were unhappy. They were the counterparts in the military industry led by Mu Jianfeng and Yi Kuan. Since ancient times, those who sold flour did not like those who sold lime. Now that the Thunder Horse military factory had risen strongly and was eyeing the arms market all over the world, how could they be happy? Early in the morning, many cars came to the Thunder Horse military factory. Some of these cars were from government departments, some were from the military, and some were from the media, including China Cat's news interview car. They came to the Thunder Horse military factory for one thing. That was the birth of the 2nd generation of the Lei Long smart machine tool and the completion of the artillery production line of the Thunder Horse military factory. Hypocrite! Gu Qian suddenly took off her slippers from her feet and smashed them on the TV. Ling Hao noticed something and looked over. When he saw the old man, his expression suddenly became respectful and serious. Gu Qian turned on the earthworm plan, and soon a sneer appeared on the corner of her mouth. Yi Masha took out a document bag from the sundry box in the cleaning car and threw it at Gu Qian. 2 months later, the old man passed by Ling Hao and Fan without saying a word. My feelings? Charlotte smiled very innocently. I feel very happy. Mr. Xia, congratulations on your world-renowned achievements. Before the end of the program, can you talk about your feelings? Tokyo, Japan. There was a document in the file bag. On the cover page was the Earthworm Plan written in English. During this period, Jiang Rui came to the capital to study and lived in the Thunder Horse military factory for a week. Charlotte usually didn't have time to go to Haizhu to accompany her. Since she came to the capital, he naturally accompanied her every night. Jiang Rui was also very clear about her role beside Charlotte. She couldn't force anything. She was satisfied that Charlotte could accompany her occasionally. This week, she was very happy. The old man did not walk far before he stopped. He stood in the crowd and quietly watched Xia Lei, who was being interviewed. His face was expressionless, and his eyes were very special. They were like the stars in the deep night sky, quietly twinkling with a cold, eerie light. These two things could be combined into one, but only this one thing marked a qualitative improvement in China's military industry. The door of the guest room suddenly opened, and a tall female cleaner pushed a cleaning cart into the room. When the female cleaner closed the door, Gu Qian suddenly stood up from the sofa and said respectfully, "Miss Yi Masha, why are you here?" Yi Masha said, "After the failure of the last German operation, Charlotte fled back to China. Both the CIA and our FA organization regard that land as a forbidden area, and it is inconvenient to take action. But the people above have lost patience. Even if it is in China, we have to take action. Teacher, can you accept the reality? You have nothing to lose. Now Charlotte doesn't even answer my phone, but you can still come to his company every now and then." Ling Hao's eyes were full of the meaning of testing. "You and him. Are you serious?" On the other side, Ling Hao and Fan Fan also met. The two looked at each other for a full minute before they began to speak. In the core workshop of the second generation of Lei Long intelligent machine tool, the female anchor of CATV faced the camera with a smile on her face and said excitedly, "Dear audience friends, I am now giving a live report to you in the Lei Ma military factory under the Rema Group. Behind me is the new generation of intelligent machine tool of the Lei Ma military factory, Lei Long Intelligent Machine Tool 2. I believe you have seen it. It is a big guy. It weighs 1,000 tons. It is the most advanced integrated intelligent machine tool in the world today, and it represents a leap in our manufacturing and military industry. It is the pride of our country, the pride of our people." Fan Fan and Ling Hao looked at each other. Without another word, they went their separate ways. Just then, an old man appeared in front of her, and she immediately closed her mouth. The loan was taken, the trouble of the Lei Ma military factory was gone, and everything was back on track. Russian and Ukrainian equipment and related technical personnel were continuously flowing to the Lei Ma military factory, and the related upgrade project and technical transformation were in full swing. The production workshop for artillery, tanks, and defense systems was also under rapid construction. At the current speed, it would not take long for a powerful military enterprise to rise from the ground, stand on the land of Asia, and look down on the whole world. There was no need for any sense of mystery in the Lei Ma military factory, because it itself was synonymous with power, advanced, and confidence. CATV chose to report the birth of the second generation of Lei Long intelligent machine tool and the artillery production line at this time. The purpose was also very clear, that was to send a signal to the world, that China's manufacturing and military industry was no longer the state of relying on imitation and imports in the past, it had already risen. Gu Qian caught it with both hands. "Don't jump to conclusions so early, this is not your action plan alone, take a look first." Yamosa's voice was very cold, without a trace of emotion. Yamosa said lightly, "Open it and take a look." Without outside interference, the progress of the second generation of Lei Long intelligent machine tool was very fast. "You are already the idol of many young people. Can you tell them about your struggle experience?" Earthworm plan? Gu Qian couldn't help but read it out, full of doubts. The interview was over. Several of the military officers who came with Sherborne were chatting and laughing, each one of them looking proud and elated. In the past, when CATV broadcast this kind of news, they usually did not say the real name of the company, usually using a certain company or a certain production base instead. But today, the female anchor of CATV directly said the Le Mans military factory, without any concealment. Not for anything else, but because of pride and confidence, she did not need to say that a certain product or weapon was comparable to similar products or weapons in Western countries, like in the past, but used the word most advanced. What do you mean? Let me tell you. A coin. Mu Jianfeng sighed. Don't act like a resentful woman. Things have developed to this point, there is nothing we can do, accept the reality. Well said, Mr. Xia. Do you have any goals now? Yes, of course. My goal is to make Rema Group the world's top military industry group. I am here to challenge those veteran military industry groups. I want to occupy their market. A week later, Jiang Rui left the capital, and Charlotte was busy again. How is the X-Secret Gold project going? Ling Hao changed the topic. Can't we think of another way? Fan Fan was very relaxed, she said lightly. Charlotte is not a simple person, he is not so easy to subdue. But this is good, anyway, the technology of the Le Mans military factory is our country. Gu Qian opened the file bag. Thank you, Mr. Xia, I wish you success. Chapter 649. The Thunder Horse military factory was as lively as ever. The previous interviews and visits were only part of the celebration. The first artillery test of the Thunder Horse military factory was the highlight of the celebration. A large group of people left the Thunder Horse military factory under the leadership of Charlotte and came to an open space outside the new factory. At the end of the open space was a small hill with a bare top. There was a target made of concrete and steel plates on it. It was not big, equivalent to a main battle tank. There was a makeshift stone platform in the middle of the clearing, which was covered with a large piece of military canvas. Judging from the bulging outline of the canvas, there seemed to be a big guy hidden inside. However, because the canvas could not transmit light, the visitors could not see the content under the canvas at all. It looks like a self-propelled artillery. An artillery expert beside Mu Jianfeng said. This time, Mu Jianfeng had specially brought artillery experts from the Shenzhou Industry Group to visit the newly built artillery workshop of the Thunder Horse military factory. The purpose was to determine what level of artillery technology the Thunder Horse military factory had reached. This was very important for the Shenzhou Industry Group, which produced heavy weapons. Mu Jianfeng also carefully looked at the thing covered by the military canvas, then said, "It does look like a self-propelled artillery. It's a big guy, but that's impossible." The artillery production line of the Thunder Horse military factory was completed not long ago. How could it produce a heavy weapon like a self-propelled artillery? The artillery expert from the Shenzhou Industry Group said, "Yes, it's easy to produce artillery, but it's not so simple to produce self-propelled artillery. It requires the technology of armored vehicles, related fire control system technology, and so on. How could the Thunder Horse military factory build self-propelled artillery in such a short period of time?" Yi Kuan came over. "Don't forget, that kid is best at winning by surprise. The more we think it's impossible, the more likely it is." Mu Jianfeng frowned. "Kuan, do you also think that Charlotte has produced self-propelled artillery?" Yi Kuan nodded with a serious expression. To some extent, self-propelled artillery was almost equivalent to a tank, because except for the difference in shooting angle, it was almost a tank. Its armor was weaker than a tank, but it was much more powerful than a tank. Therefore, in order to build a heavy weapon like the self-propelled artillery, not only did they need artillery technology, They also needed to master the technology of armored vehicles. This was precisely what the Thunder Horse military factory currently did not have. However, if the military canvas was covered with a self-propelled artillery, it meant that the Thunder Horse military factory had mastered this technology and used it in actual production. This was a very bad thing for Shenzhou Industry Group and Hanwoo Weapons Company. Similar discussions also appeared in other places. Many people believed that there was a self-propelled artillery the size of a tank hidden under the military canvas, but with the current capabilities of the Thunder Horse military factory, no one was willing to believe that it could produce such heavy weapons. Time returned to that night 2 months ago. Long Bing suddenly turned over and pressed on Charlotte's body. She said to Charlotte in a commanding tone, "Get in." Charlotte suddenly thought of something. "Bing, this time the Thunder Horse military factory will be fully upgraded. The first thing to be built is the artillery workshop. The easiest thing to produce and put on the market is also artillery. Tell me, what kind of artillery should I make for my first artillery?" Long Bing suddenly lay on Charlotte's chest like a punctured balloon. Her cheeks were red, and her beautiful eyes were full of anger. "You're talking to me about artillery at this time?" Charlotte looked very serious. "I just had an inspiration." "All right, I give up." "What's the inspiration?" "I don't know what's going on. It's too fast. I don't know what inspiration it is. But I'm sure that you must have triggered it." "Me?" Long Bing looked confused. She couldn't think of what she had done to trigger Charlotte's inspiration. "Yes, you. I have a hunch that it's great. If I can capture it, it will definitely become an amazing character in the world of artillery." Charlotte was very excited. Long Bing bit her lip, her eyes were watery. "Do you really want to talk to me about your artillery at this time? Why don't you do everything you did just now again? Maybe I can capture the inspiration just now." Charlotte couldn't wait. "Hurry up." Long Bing nodded gloomily, then climbed down from Charlotte's body and returned to his arms. Then, she slid one hand down his lower abdomen. "What are you doing?" Charlotte suddenly became nervous. "Didn't you ask me to repeat what I just did?" Long Bing was not disturbed by Charlotte. Charlotte's frown eased. Then you continue. "What are you thinking about?" "What else can I think about? This is so funny." "Yes, this is so funny. Can we not be so funny?" "Then what are we doing?" Long Bing suddenly turned over and pressed on Charlotte's body. Her breathing was rapid. "Get inside." Charlotte suddenly shouted, "Wait! Say that again." "Say what again?" "That's what you said." "Give it to me." Long Bing's face suddenly turned red. She was a woman who was rarely shy, but after being played by Charlotte, she couldn't stand it anymore. She wanted to find a hole to hide in. "Say it." Charlotte's eyes were full of desire. Long Bing gently bit her cherry lips and suddenly said fiercely, "Get inside." Charlotte was stunned for a moment, then suddenly laughed. That's it. I know, this is great." "Great your head." Long Bing grabbed the pillow beside her and smashed it on Charlotte's head back to the present. In the crowd of visitors, Long Bing stopped to look at the piece of military canvas, and a faint smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. She never thought that she would help Charlotte in his career, but the first artillery of the Thunder Horse military factory was actually credited to her. Every time she thought of this, she felt a little sense of accomplishment and couldn't help but feel happy. "What are you laughing at?" Tang Yuyan came over. "Do I need to tell you what I'm laughing at?" Long Bing's mind was originally recalling the romantic story of that night, but it was interrupted by Tang Yuyan, and that happy feeling suddenly disappeared. "You rarely smile in a year. When you smile, there must be something," Tang Yuyan said. Long Bing simply ignored Tang Yuyan. "Forget it, I'm not interested in knowing if you don't tell me." Tang Yuyan pointed to the military canvas on the stone platform. "Many people are guessing that there is a self-propelled artillery under it. What do you think?" "Charlotte's artillery, of course it is the best artillery." Long Bing's mind seemed to be imagining something, and her expression was a little strange. What artillery are you referring to? Tang Yuyen's sixth sense was stronger. And Long Bing coughed dryly. Of course it's artillery, otherwise what kind of artillery do you think it is? I'm asking what kind of artillery under the canvas is. What kind of artillery are you talking about? I'm talking about the artillery under the canvas, of course. What artillery is it? Artillery your head. If you talk nonsense again, I'll give you a shot. Long Bing was a little irritated. Tang Yuyen laughed. Did you take the wrong medicine? Give me a shot. Do you have a cannon? After a pause, she probed. Have you seen Charlotte's cannon? Long Bing was speechless. While the two women were bickering, Charlotte, accompanied by Ryu Youngnam, climbed up the temporary stone platform. Everyone's eyes were focused on Charlotte. Chairman Xia, you reveal it, Ryu Youngnam said. Charlotte nodded, reached out and grabbed a corner of the military canvas. Then, he forcefully lifted it. The military canvas left the ground and swayed down with the wind. A rectangular wooden platform was revealed on the stone platform, and the wooden platform was covered with a red carpet. On the carpet, there was a 1.5-meter-long artillery with a strange shape. Its caliber was about 60 millimeters, which was equivalent to a light mortar. However, it was not a mortar. Its body was also much longer than a mortar. What was even more peculiar was that its mount wasn't a triangular frame, but was instead composed of two parts. One part was a straight alloy frame that could be rooted into the ground, and there was only one of it. The other part was a combined bracket at the tail. It was like the shape of a clamshell, but it was not a pure clamshell shape. It had a very complex mechanical structure. What the hell, what is this? In the crowd of visitors, the artillery expert of Shenzhou Industry Group widened his eyes, but he was still confused. He couldn't even figure out the doorway. So it's not a self-propelled artillery. What kind of artillery is this? Can this thing fire cannons? It can definitely fire, but I suspect it can only shoot 100 meters. Haha, Thunder Horse Military Factory is going to be a joke this time. Not producing the XL 2500 sniper rifle and the Gale assault rifle, but learning from others to make a cannon. Isn't this smearing dust on your own face? I really don't understand what Charlotte is thinking. Yeah, young people nowadays just love to be in the limelight and make all kinds of strange things. There was a lot of discussion, and almost no one was optimistic about this never-before-seen miniature artillery. Only Long Bing, as soon as the strange miniature artillery appeared, the smile on the corner of her mouth became more obvious. In the midst of the doubts, Charlotte picked up the strange-looking miniature artillery and opened the clamshell-shaped bracket structure at the tail of the cannon. What happened next left everyone dumbfounded. The strange-looking tail bracket automatically opened up and wrapped around his shoulders. In just a few blinks of an eye, the tail bracket was combined with his body. Human and cannon as one. It's actually such a design? Some people were very surprised. Such a design is just opportunistic, an artillery expert said. Yes, the power of the artillery is very strong and the recoil is also amazing. He combined the artillery with his body, and the recoil when firing can shatter his shoulders. This is not artillery, it's simply a suicide device. What's the use of designing it like this except to surprise people? Another artillery expert said. Indeed, the recoil of the artillery was not comparable to that of a gun. The gunpowder energy of a shell was hundreds or even thousands of times that of a gun's ammunition. Some ordinary people's bodies couldn't withstand the recoil of a gun, let alone artillery. From this point of view, the artillery designed by Charlotte was really a suicidal design. But was that really the case? Chapter 650. Two workers carried a wooden box onto the stage. One of the workers opened the wooden box, which contained 8 shells. The 8 shells looked like a gun bullet that had been magnified dozens of times, not a mortar shell. From the appearance of the shell, it could be ruled out that Charlotte's cannon was a mortar. The 8 shells had already sent a signal to the people present. Although I am small, I am a real cannon, not a mortar. Ryu Youngnam stood beside Charlotte with a microphone. Charlotte's voice was transmitted through the microphone to the loudspeaker equipment, and everyone in the shooting range could hear it. I believe everyone has seen it. This is the first cannon of our Thunder Horse military factory, and its name is Hellhound. Hellhound, that was the name of the first cannon of the Thunder Horse military factory. Although its shape had nothing to do with a dog, its strangeness and the cold aura it emitted could give people an invisible pressure. Hellhound? What kind of name is that? Yi Kuan snorted under the stage. Is that all the culture of people who came from construction sites? I bet that if Charlotte dared to operate it himself, he would be crippled. An artillery expert said disdainfully, "What Hellhound? The name is fierce, but it's definitely just for show. There's no practical use at all." Hellhound? Why did you give it such a name? God Dragon Cannon or something else sounds better than this name. Although it was just a name, it had already caused a lot of discussion. Many people were originally competitors of the Thunder Horse military factory. Coupled with their preconceived notions, they were naturally not stingy with their words of ridicule. Charlotte's voice sounded again. "Everyone, please be quiet. Even if you want to laugh at me, you have to wait until I make a fool of myself, right?" After this sentence, the scene suddenly quieted down. Charlotte then said, "Some of you must be wondering why I gave the first cannon of the Thunder Horse military factory such a name. Let me tell you. Hellhound comes from Romanian mythology. It was born of the 100-handed giant Typhon and Cadena, and was the pet of Hecate, the goddess of the underworld. It guarded the gates of hell and prevented the undead from escaping from hell. The first cannon of our Thunder Horse military factory is similar to a hellhound, but it doesn't stop the undead from escaping from hell. Instead, it stops the enemy from entering and sends them to hell. What's the point of talking about all this? Even if you give it an evil name and boast about its performance to the heavens, you still have to be able to do it." Someone deliberately stirred up trouble. Charlotte ignored him and continued, "I believe everyone has seen it. It's a one-man artillery. It weighed 35 kilograms in total and 40 kilograms after being loaded with shells. With such a weight, any warrior could handle it and carry it through the complicated jungles and mountains. More importantly, it uses a special artillery shell developed by our Thunder Horse military factory with a range of 2,500 meters and an error of only 5 meters. Its power was no less than that of a 120 mm smoothbore cannon. And let me tell you, it's a rifled cannon. On the battlefield, a soldier, a Hellhound cannon, and a special armor-piercing bullet we developed will become a tank killer. There was a large number of stunned faces in the audience. Such a small cannon, and it was fired from a person's shoulder. Its power was no less than that of a 120 mm smoothbore cannon. It must be known that the 120 mm smoothbore cannon was the artillery used by the current main battle tanks, and its power could be imagined. But this was not the most surprising thing. The most surprising thing was that it was actually a rifled cannon. In the world of artillery, the smoothbore cannon was the most powerful, but the accuracy was low. The accuracy of the rifled cannon was very high, but the power was low. But the Thunder Horse military factory's Hellhound actually had the two advantages of the power of the smoothbore cannon and the accuracy of the rifled cannon. How was this possible? No one in this world could do this. What are you bragging about? The artillery expert of Shenzhou Industry Group finally couldn't help it. His voice was very loud. You said that the power of the Hellhound cannon is no less than that of a 120 mm smoothbore cannon. You're carrying a tank on your shoulder. Do you know how much recoil a tank has when it fires a shell? You give me a shot and see. When a tank fires a shell, the entire tank will shake. And a tank weighs dozens of tons. How can a person resist such a big recoil? It's impossible. Charlotte didn't care. He smiled. You'll see. Otherwise, do you think I called you here to watch me fly into the sky? The audience laughed. Charlotte picked up a shell from the wooden box. It was only the size of a small mortar shell, but it weighed 10 pounds. It was indeed different. Picking up the shell, Charlotte pressed on the support device at the back of the cannon, and a small hatch suddenly opened on the support device. He put the shell in, and the hatch closed automatically. The sound of mechanical operation came from the support device. It was obviously the sound of the shell being loaded. Charlotte opened the infrared aiming device at the front of the muzzle, and a beam of red light shot toward the opposite hill. The target made of concrete and steel stood on the top of the hill, about 2,500 meters away from the target. The audience was quiet, and everyone was waiting to see the result of the firing. Some people were waiting to witness a miracle, and some people were waiting to witness a tragedy. But without waiting for Charlotte to fire, Sherborne quickly walked to the stage, and a big hand pressed on the other side of Charlotte's shoulder. Charlotte, let someone else fire. Charlotte smiled and said, It's okay, Mr. Sher. Don't I know what I'm making? Sherborne lowered his voice. Kid, don't you think about the consequences? If something happens to you, what will happen to the Thunder Horse Arms Factory? And what about that thing? Charlotte knew very well that Sherborne was talking about the Secret Gold Project. He said, It's okay. Mr. Sher, step back a little, I'm going to fire. You kid. Sherborne stared at Charlotte, but he couldn't do anything to him. At this time, Tang Yuyen also walked quickly. Charlotte hurriedly said, Masato, put on the earmuffs. Ryu Youngnam then put the special earmuffs on Charlotte's head, covering his ears. Charlotte, wait! Tang Yuyen quickened her pace, looking very anxious and worried. Charlotte didn't wait for her to go on the stage. He aimed the infrared ray at the target, and then pressed the button of the firing device. Boom! A loud explosion rang out as a shell shot out from the barrel of the Hellhound cannon, drawing a straight line of fire through the air. In the blink of an eye, there was suddenly a burst of fire and thick smoke on the opposite hill. The sound wave, the vibration, it was really like a tank had fired at that place. The target was blown up. Although the target was 2,500 meters away, there were cameras that captured the scene of it being hit and blown up, and it was transmitted to many monitors on the shooting range. These scenes were replayed over and over again, but no one said a word even after they were replayed several times. The entire shooting range was so quiet that a pin drop could be heard. What surprised people wasn't only the terrifying power of the Hellhound cannon, but also its recoil. With the range and power when it was fired just now, Charlotte would have to fly back at least 10 meters, if not dozens of meters. However, Charlotte was still standing on the stage, just taking a step back. Not to mention shattering his shoulder, not even a piece of his skin was scratched. His jaw dropped. This is really strange. The artillery expert of Shenzhou Industry Group was stunned for a long time before he said a sentence. Until this moment, his mental state was still like he was sleepwalking. Mu Jianfeng and Yi Kuan's mental state was no longer sleepwalking, but blank. Not to mention anything else, just the advent of this Hellhound cannon was enough to make Thunder Horse Military Factory's artillery technology the best in the world. The scene on several monitors suddenly switched to the moment when Charlotte fired the cannon. This group of footage was played in slow motion. In this group of footage, it was clearly seen that the moment Charlotte fired the cannon, a metal tube ejected from the rear end bracket of the Hellhound cannon. It fell to the ground with the shell. The metal tube was squeezed and deformed, like a wire that had been twisted many times. No one knew where it came from. Charlotte's voice rang through the audience again. Everyone, did you see that? This is our Thunder Horse Military Factory's Hellhound cannon. It uses the shock absorption system of the Gale assault rifle, but it is more powerful and advanced. Each shot consumes a shock absorption rod. It is this shock absorption rod that absorbs most of the recoil, and I am safe. Its cost is very low, only 500 yuan per rod. One shell, one shock absorption rod, and our soldiers can snipe a tank at a distance of 2 kilometers. And how expensive anti-tank missiles are on the market now, you should know in your heart, right? Still no one spoke. Charlotte smiled. Okay, today's demonstration will end here. Distinguished guests, please move to our Thunder Horse Military Factory's cafeteria. We have prepared a banquet to celebrate the birth of the Hellhound Cannon. Who would want to eat his work meal? For Mu Jianfeng and Yi Kuan, eating dragon meat at this moment was no longer delicious, not to mention a banquet to celebrate the birth of the Hellhound Cannon. The visitors dispersed, discussing as they walked. Without a doubt, the news of the Hellhound Cannon's appearance would sweep the world like a storm from here. The Thunder Horse Military Factory's tank and defense system workshop had not yet been put into production, but just the cannon technology had already sent a strong signal to the world. The wolf is coming. Charlotte walked to Long Bing. Long Bing smiled at him. Walking to Long Bing's side, Charlotte lowered his voice. Go in, thank you for your inspiration. Long Bing, who was rarely shy, suddenly blushed. She rolled her eyes at Charlotte. If you say it again, you can go in. Her shy expression, this kind of words, Charlotte couldn't help but feel his heart skip a beat. Long Bing suddenly whispered, Boss Sure is coming. Charlotte turned around and saw Sherboran walking towards him. Before Sherboran came over, Long Bing took the initiative to step aside. Kid, you're good. Sherboran reached out and patted Charlotte's shoulder. You did what you said, this time you made a great contribution again. Tell me, what kind of reward do you want? Charlotte smiled. How about giving me a 10 million bonus? Sherboran suddenly frowned. You still have the nerve to ask me for money? Are you short of money? You have a net worth of tens of billions, the money you casually spent on a woman. I can't earn it in my life, and you still have the nerve to ask me for money? Okay, boss, sure, just pretend I didn't say anything. Charlotte felt like he had moved a stone and dropped it on his own foot. Just like that? Sherboran looked at Charlotte covetously. Charlotte smiled bitterly. How about this? I still have a bottle of Lafite red wine in my office, it's yours. Sherboran smiled. That's more like it. Charlotte was somewhat speechless. A bottle of Lafite red wine worth 100,000 disappeared for no reason. However, it was actually an honor for a person like Sherboran to ask him for a bottle of wine. If it was someone else, not to mention a bottle of red wine, even if it was 10 million, they still wouldn't want it. Kid, what are you going to do next? Charlotte said. Mass production of the Hellhound artillery, completion of the construction of the tank and defense system workshop. I want to build the Thunder Horse Military Factory into the world's most powerful military enterprise step by step. Sherboran laughed and said, Kid, just because of what you said, I will give you whatever support you want in the future. Charlotte then realized why Sherboran inexplicably asked him for a bottle of red wine. This was a sign of goodwill. This was also the first time Sherboran had shown goodwill to him. It had never happened before. That's right, Sherboran was such an upright and outspoken person, how could he be greedy for a bottle of red wine? However, he also understood that if he hadn't crossed the previous hurdle, and there was no success of today's Hellhound artillery, Sherboran would not have shown goodwill to him like this. Everyone has a picture. This was also good, establishing a better relationship with Sherboran. He could better take care of and protect Long Bing and Liang Xiao. Let's go, boss, sure. We will have a few drinks later. Charlotte said with a smile. Haha, good. Sherboran's laughter was very unpleasant to hear. Chapter 651. When the Hellhound cannon was released, orders kept coming in. Not only did the Thunder Horse Army Factory easily win large domestic orders, but even foreign merchants heard the news and came to visit and place orders. The hellhound cannon had yet to be widely publicized, and it had yet to undergo the test of the battlefield, but it had already become famous. This was just the beginning. In the future, when more cannon products were released, the cannon products of the Thunder Horse Army Factory would undoubtedly become a hot commodity all over the world. Of course, the cannons of the Thunder Horse Army Factory could not all be as amazing as the Hellhound cannon. Later on, most of the cannons were conventional cannons. They only sought to improve their performance. The Hellhound cannon was undoubtedly one of the main products of the Thunder Horse Army Factory. If foreign merchants wanted to buy this product, they would have to buy the conventional products of the Thunder Horse Army Factory first. These things were naturally handled by the marketing department of the Thunder Horse Army Factory, so there was no need for Charlotte to worry about them. On the third day after the Hellhound cannon was fired, Charlotte suddenly received a call. This call was unexpected because it was from Zhang Huilan, Zhang Huilan's mother. Mr. Xia, that. On the phone, Zhang Huilan's voice carried an awkward tone. I'm very presumptuous to call you. Charlotte said calmly, Auntie Zhang, if you have something to say, just say it. A woman who fell into the eyes of money, a woman who treated her daughter as a commodity. Even now, he did not have a good impression of Peaceful's mother. Back then, Zhang Huilan had looked down on Charlotte and insisted on matchmaking Peaceful and Ren Wenxiang. At that time, Ren Wenxiang was a returnee from abroad. He had a decent job and a good income, while Charlotte was just a poor kid who opened a small workshop on the street. But now, Charlotte was already a billionaire and the father of rifles in the country. Zhang Huilan was actually so regretful that she wanted to die. Zhang Huilan was silent for a moment before saying, It's like this, Mr. Xia. Today, I went to the hospital to see Peaceful. She woke up for a while and even said a few words to me. Charlotte's heart skipped a beat. She woke up for a while? What did she say? She said that the sky is not the sky, the time is not the time. Well, she also said something about a traveler. Auntie Zhang, can you explain it clearly? Charlotte was very anxious. Zhang Huilan said, I don't remember clearly. Go and see her. Maybe she will tell you. The doctor said that her condition had improved. During this period of time, she should let some people she was familiar with meet her and chat with her. This was good for her recovery. Especially the person she likes. I know that girl has always liked you. Okay, I'll go see her right away. Charlotte agreed readily. The reason he was in such a hurry was not just because Peaceful was his best friend. There were other reasons. Peaceful was one of the first people to come into contact with the ancient alloy. That group of people had either died or gone crazy. She was the only one who had woken up. Why was that? After Peaceful woke up, she said something. Although Zhang Huilan's description was not very clear, it touched his sensitive nerves. The sky was not the sky, the time was not the time, and the traveler. Was this something a person who had just woken up from a state of madness would say? This was not normal. He had to see Peaceful and figure out what had happened. An hour later, Charlotte drove to a closed sanatorium. The people who were recuperating in this sanatorium were not ordinary people. The guards at the door were real soldiers with real guns. Ordinary people could not enter. However, he had sufficient authority. After showing the ID issued to him by Bureau 101, he easily entered the sanatorium. With a doctor named Wei Guani leading the way, Charlotte came to a room. Mr. Xia, Professor Ning's condition is not stable, Wei Guani said. Later, when you talk to her, don't provoke her. If she is too emotional, you have to end the conversation. Charlotte nodded. Okay, I understand, doctor. Thank you. Go do what you need to do. Wei Guani turned around to leave, but he only took one step before turning back. Oh, right, Mr. Xia, I almost forgot something. What is it? Professor Ning drew some pictures this morning, Wei Guani said. It's weird. Come to my office later, and I'll give it to you. Okay, I'll go to your office to look at those pictures later. Charlotte pushed open the door to the room and walked in. The room was very spacious. There was a sofa, a TV, and a computer to surf the internet. The environment was clean and comfortable. When Charlotte entered the door, Peaceful was standing in front of the window looking at the distant sky. She was very quiet, so quiet that she was like a statue. The noise caused by Charlotte opening the door did not attract her attention. Even when Charlotte walked behind her, she did not look back at him. Charlotte wanted to call out to her, but he swallowed the words that were on the tip of his tongue. He could not bear to disturb her, even if she was just standing there in a daze. In his memory, Peaceful was a voluptuous woman. Her body was not the best, but it was good. But now, she looked thin. This caused a trace of sadness to surface in his heart. The two of them just stood there. One was looking at the distant sky, and the other was quietly looking at the other's back. They were reminiscing about the past. After who knew how many minutes, Peaceful looked away from the distant sky. She turned around and saw Charlotte. Then, she walked past him without saying a word. There wasn't a trace of surprise or excitement on her face. In her eyes, Xiale was just a vase, a remote control board, or something. Was this a normal situation? Peaceful walked in front of the computer and moved the mouse. Charlotte noticed that the computer was still dark. He had not woken up. Peaceful sat on the computer chair. Her hands quickly typed on the keyboard. Charlotte could not hold it in anymore. He walked over and tried to ask, "Peaceful, do you remember me?" Peaceful raised her head to look at Charlotte. "I remember." Xiale heaved a sigh of relief. "Then you still remember," Peaceful interrupted him. "Take off your pants and lie on the bed." Huh! Charlotte was shocked. "Last time, I checked your uterus. The baby's condition is better. This time, I want to check it again. The baby's health is the most important. Be good. Take off your pants and lie on the bed. I will check it for you." Peaceful stood up and walked toward Charlotte. Her face was as serious as an old doctor's. Charlotte stood there and did not move. He had just let out a small sigh of relief. Now, it was like a pump had filled a few forklift tires with air. "Be good," Peaceful said. "Take off your pants and let me check." Charlotte grabbed her hand. "Peaceful, it's me. I am Charlotte. Do you remember me? I am here to see you." Peaceful was suddenly shocked. Her face was frozen. It seemed to work. Charlotte said, "Think about it. I am Charlotte. Charlotte, we met at Haiju. You helped me earn my first pot of gold. We went to Afghanistan. The White Hun tribe. Do you remember a baby-faced chief called Shalami?" Peaceful moved away from Charlotte's hand. She held Charlotte's face and seriously said, "Don't be so excited. This is prenatal anxiety. You have to calm down. I will give you some medicine. Remember to take it." Charlotte was speechless. "Be good. Take off your pants." Peaceful reached out her hand to untie Charlotte's belt. Charlotte grabbed her hand again. He suddenly remembered something. He said, "The sky is not the sky. Time is not time. People traveling." Serenity was stunned for a moment, and then she shook her head vigorously. It worked? Charlotte's heart jumped. He repeated, "The sky is not the sky. Time is not time. People traveling." Peaceful slowly raised her head and looked at Charlotte. The moment Xiaolei saw the look in her eyes, he was stunned. Her eyes were like the deep night sky. It was impossible to see the bottom. Or, it was a black hole that could swallow people's souls. At this time, Peaceful used a weird voice to say, "The sky is not the sky. There is no distance. Time is not time. 1,000 years pass in the blink of an eye." The traveler came from a distant time and space. The sky was not an obstacle for him, and time could not erase his body. He is looking for a starting point, but he is lost in a dark world. He is about to forget himself. The only thing that can. After saying that, Peaceful closed her mouth. The only thing that can? Charlotte was in a hurry. The only thing that can. It was still that sentence. It was like a closing sentence. Tell me, what is the only thing that can? Charlotte panicked even more. He had a feeling that Peaceful was talking about the mysterious ancient alloy and the secret of Ae. The only thing that can. Peaceful could not continue. Charlotte's emotions were out of control. He grabbed Peaceful's shoulder and shook it. Tell me, what is the only thing that can? Peaceful suddenly closed her eyes. She fell into Charlotte's arms. Peaceful? Hello? What's wrong with you? Charlotte was panicking. He hugged Peaceful and called her name, but Peaceful did not respond. Her condition wasn't improving at all. Instead, she had inexplicably entered another state of insanity. Xia Lei did not believe in something as unscientific as being possessed by a ghost, but Peaceful's behavior made it seem like she was possessed by a ghost. Before Peaceful's doctor, Wei Guani, came over, Charlotte went to check on Peaceful. He quickly came to a conclusion. Peaceful had just fainted, and there was nothing wrong with her. He heaved a sigh of relief. A few minutes later, Charlotte left the room and went to Wei Guani's office. Wei Guani gave him a few paintings that Peaceful had drawn. Looking at the paintings, Charlotte froze. The first one was the Ming Dynasty compass. The second one was a bronze book. The third one was an ancient alloy box that was missing a corner. The fourth one was a complete ancient alloy box. The last one was a naked man, but the weird thing was that he did not have a face. The weirdest thing was that, on the bottom right corner of the last painting, Peaceful had written a name. It was Charlotte. Wei Guani said, I saw your name. I think she wants to give these paintings to you. Mr. Xia, you can take these paintings away. Charlotte came back to himself. He nodded. Mr. Xia, because of Professor Ning's condition, she can't accept visits. You go back first. Leave me your number. I'll call you when her condition gets better, Wei Guani said. Charlotte thought for a moment and said, Dr. Wei, how about this? I'll leave you my number. Record what she says and what she does. Call me regularly or make a document of these things and send it to my email. Wei Guani did not agree. He frowned. Charlotte said, Of course, I won't let you do this work for nothing. I'll hire you as Peaceful's personal doctor. I'll pay you 20,000 a month. What do you think? Mr. Xia, ha. Wei Guani smiled. Okay. Charlotte's eyes fell on the last painting. His name was written on it, but there was no face. Looking at the figure, it was not him at all. What on earth was going on? Chapter 652. When Charlotte left the sanatorium, Peaceful had not woken up yet. She was sleeping peacefully. He wanted to say goodbye to her, but he did not have the heart to wake her up. Returning to the chairman's office in the Thunder Horse Army factory, Charlotte took out the 5 paintings. As he looked at them, he thought about what Peaceful had said. Emptiness is not the sky. There is no distance. Time is not time. 1,000 years pass in the blink of an eye. A traveler comes from a distant time and space. The sky is not his obstacle, and time cannot erase his body. He is looking for a starting point, but he is lost in a dark world. He is about to forget himself. The only thing that can. Those words were like a curse. Why would Peaceful say something like that? She had come into contact with ancient alloys and bronze books, but she had never come into contact with a box made of ancient alloys. Before he had put the box together, she had gone crazy. In fact, the amount of ancient alloys he had come into contact with was very limited. Even he had only put the box together after his trip to Japan. So, if she had not seen the ancient alloy box, how could she have drawn the ancient alloy box? Charlotte's eyes suddenly moved to the 4th painting that had a complete ancient alloy box. His eyes locked onto the piece of ancient alloy he had never seen before. Every piece of ancient alloy had special patterns and patterns. The patterns and patterns on every piece of ancient alloy were different. It could be said that every piece of ancient alloy was different and unique. The piece that Peaceful had drawn did not copy any ancient alloy. It had its own special patterns and patterns. It was unique. What is going on? Has she seen a complete ancient alloy box before? Or has someone described it to her? Charlotte's head was filled with questions, but he did not have an answer. Footsteps came from outside the door. Charlotte raised his head and looked. He then put away the 5 paintings. Fan quickly appeared at the door of the office. She reached out and knocked on the door. Charlotte casually said, "Come in." Fan pushed the door open and walked in. She was wearing a black elastic cotton sleeveless top. Her breasts were firm and full, and she wasn't wearing a bra. The mysterious granules under the fabric were clearly visible. She wore a short black skirt that was only long enough to cover her perky buttocks. If she bent down, at least a third of her buttocks would be revealed. Under the short skirt, her jade-like legs were snow-white, and her buttocks were like ripe peaches. She was indescribably sweet and alluring, mature and sexy. In the past, Fan had taken the innocent route of a high intellectual woman. Now, Fan had taken the mature and sexy route of an imperial woman. For Charlotte, he didn't know what was good or bad about such a change. He only knew that the current Fan would have those kinds of messy thoughts when she looked at him. "Why are you here?" Charlotte asked casually. "Can't I come here for no reason?" Fan rolled her eyes coquettishly. "You're not gentle to me when you're in bed. Can't you be gentle to me when you're not in bed?" "Charlotte, all right, I'll stop joking with you. I'm here to talk business with you." "What business?" "The Hellhound Cannon has been successful. The work on your hand is almost done. When do we start the Secret Gold project?" Fan stared at Charlotte. Her eyes seemed to be able to see through a person's heart. Charlotte smiled bitterly. "Didn't I say it very clearly? This kind of thing can't be rushed. You have to give me more time." "All right, if you want it, I'll give it to you." "Charlotte, I'm not here for this business. There's another thing." "Can't you say it all at once?" "I've already researched the antidote." Fan opened her handbag and took out a glass container. It was filled with a transparent and viscous liquid. For some reason, no matter how Charlotte looked at it, he felt that the liquid looked like lubricant. It was because of this characteristic that Charlotte was able to determine that the antidote Fan had researched was wrong with just one look. Not for any other reason, but because he had already developed the correct antidote. Not only was it the correct antidote, but he had also developed an antidote that could suppress the antidote. Fan handed the glass container to Charlotte and waved it in front of him. There was a hint of provocation in her voice. "How about it? Give it a try." "That, I still have something to do." "Can you?" Fan suddenly frowned. "You promised me. Are you going to go back on your word?" Charlotte looked at the watch on his wrist and sighed. "I really don't know what to do with you." "All right, I'll give you 15 minutes. "Half an hour," Fan said. "I need to collect some samples for the antidote test." "Okay, half an hour it is. Come to the lounge with me." Charlotte turned and walked to the lounge. Fan smiled and followed Charlotte into the lounge. For half an hour, the lounge was not quiet at all. From time to time, there was a strange sound. Fortunately, no one came to the office to ask Charlotte to deal with anything during this time. Otherwise, his reputation would be ruined here. Half an hour later, Fan walked out of the lounge. She carefully held a new glass container while tidying up her clothes in a panic. She complained. "Really, if only you didn't blow up my lab. I could do the detoxification experiment here. Now I have to go back to the Academy of Sciences. It's so troublesome." "Can't you?" "No." Charlotte's attitude was still very firm. "I won't have your lab here. This is what we agreed on. I can allow you to collect my samples. This is already good enough. You have to be content." Fan glared at Charlotte. "You were so happy just now. Now you're turning your back on me? In your eyes, am I so worthless?" Charlotte shrugged. "You took the initiative to find me." I didn't take the initiative to find you. If you feel wronged, we can terminate this relationship at any time. You. Fan Fan had an aggrieved look on her face, and a faint layer of mist appeared in her eyes. No woman would be able to accept such words coming out of his mouth after doing that kind of thing. If it was the Xia Lei of the past, he definitely wouldn't say such hurtful words. However, after being repeatedly deceived by women and suffering emotional blows, he had long changed. Not to say that he had become another person, but at least in terms of feelings for women, he was no longer the gentle and considerate style he used to be. Instead, he had the style of a playboy. Looking at Fan Fan, who was so aggrieved that she wanted to cry, Charlotte didn't feel guilty at all. Because as long as he remembered that she had tricked him into handing over the Thunder Horse military factory, and that she was a member of the ZN Bureau lurking around him, no matter how big the guilt was, it would disappear in an instant. Forget it, I don't want to argue with you. Fan Fan calmed down in the blink of an eye. I have to rush back to do the experiment. I will inform you as soon as I have the result. Charlotte smiled. Take care. I won't see you out. There will be results? There will never be a result. Fan Fan would probably need to do a lot of experiments to develop the right antidote. This would all take time. And even if she developed the right antidote, Charlotte had already prepared the anti-antidote to deal with her. In short, he wouldn't let her be pregnant with his child. He wanted her to focus most of her energy on developing the antidote so that she wouldn't have the energy to interfere with his affairs. Fan Fan looked deeply at Charlotte, then turned around and left Charlotte's office. After Fan Fan left, Charlotte took out the 5 paintings and went to the villa. Ever since he got angry at Colonel Wu Xiaogua, the special forces guarding the villa were even more polite to Charlotte. Before Charlotte entered the villa, the 2 special forces guards at the door not only checked if he was holding anything in his hand, but they also saluted him. Charlotte just nodded symbolically and went straight into the villa. Then, he went to the underground laboratory. He emptied the workbench and placed everything on it. The compass, the bronze book, the ancient alloy box that was missing a corner, and the 5 paintings that Peaceful had drawn. In the first painting, the needle of the compass was pointing straight up into the sky. That was the last state of the compass. It pointed to the last hidden treasure. The bronze book in the second painting was closed. There was nothing special about it. Charlotte had already deciphered the bronze book, so he didn't pay too much attention to this painting. The third drawing was of an old alloy box that was missing a corner. He compared it to the real box, and he was shocked to find that the 3 sides of the box that Peaceful had drawn were the same as the real box. Even the lines were exactly the same. A painting like that could be used as a picture. But Peaceful hadn't even seen the box. The 4th painting was the ancient alloy box with the remaining 3 sides. It was exactly the same as the other 3 sides of the real ancient alloy box. The patterns and patterns were exactly the same. That included the ancient alloy part that he hadn't seen yet. Obviously, this wasn't a coincidence. She had done it on purpose. The man in the 5th painting was naked. His body was strong and well-proportioned, but he didn't have a face. The bottom right corner had the name Charlotte, but Charlotte was sure that the person in the painting wasn't him. Charlotte looked at everything again and again. At the same time, he tried all kinds of methods to find clues from these silent objects. Unfortunately, he didn't find anything. In the end, his thoughts returned to what Peaceful had said. Emptiness isn't the sky. There is no distance. Time isn't time. 1,000 years pass in the blink of an eye. A traveler comes from a distant space. The sky isn't an obstacle, and time can't erase his body. He's looking for a starting point, but he's lost in the dark world. He's about to forget himself. The only thing that can. Suddenly, a light appeared in Charlotte's head. Before it appeared, his brain was like a pile of paste. After it appeared, his thoughts showed signs of clarity. The paste also changed toward the direction of clear water. Charlotte's eyes slowly moved to the ancient alloy box and then fixed on the gap. Chapter 653. The gap on the ancient alloy box looked ordinary and ordinary. It was just a hole formed by a missing part. However, Charlotte had once put a ball pen in it, and the result was quite terrifying. It was now in front of him without any movement, but it was still full of mystery and awe-inspiring. Emptiness is not the sky, there is no distance. Time is not time, 1,000 years pass in the blink of an eye. A traveler comes from a distant space and time, the sky is not his obstacle, and time cannot erase his body. He is looking for a starting point, but he is lost in the dark world. He is about to forget himself, the only thing that can. Charlotte was still thinking about this sentence in his mind, and the glimmer of light that appeared in his mind before became clearer and clearer. A few minutes later, Charlotte found a screwdriver and carefully put it into the gap in the ancient alloy box. Last time he put a ball pen in the ancient alloy box, and this time he planned to use a more solid object to do the experiment. The screwdriver was longer than the ancient alloy box, but the gap in the ancient alloy box seemed to be a bottomless hole, and the screwdriver could not reach the bottom at all. When the handle of the screwdriver only had a little bit left, Charlotte suddenly put the screwdriver into the ancient alloy box, and then quickly withdrew his hand. The screwdriver disappeared, and this time he felt a trace of energy fluctuation in the gap. This trace of energy fluctuation was very fast, and disappeared in the blink of an eye, so fast that he did not dare to confirm it was real. Charlotte did not dwell on this issue, and his eyes moved to the watch. It was exactly 1 second since he put the screwdriver in, and he remembered this time. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. After the second hand moved 59 times, a sudden energy fluctuation was released in the void. Immediately, the screwdriver that had disappeared just now appeared. It quietly floated in the void, as if there was an invisible tray holding it. Its body was covered in rust, and even the plastic on the handle had disappeared. It gave people the feeling that it had spent 1,000 years in the wind and sun. But the screwdriver fell on the workbench, and although it did not turn into a pile of powder, after the rust fell, it looked only 1/10 of its original appearance, and it was crooked and not smooth at all. Although he had tried this several times, Charlotte's heart was still full of fear. A screwdriver in, and 9 out of 10 had become rust, and even the plastic handle had decomposed. This was clearly 1,000 years of time. If a living person went in and came out, wouldn't he become a pile of bones? But the inspiration that Charlotte had just thought of was to enter the ancient alloy box. Emptiness is not the sky, there is no distance. Time is not time, in the blink of an eye, 1,000 years. Time is not time, in the blink of an eye, there is no distance. The screwdriver disappeared from the ancient alloy box, but it reappeared out of thin air. The sky was no longer the sky, it had no distance. As for time, the screwdriver entered the ancient alloy box for a minute, and when it reappeared from the void, it had already been weathered for 1,000 years. This phenomenon coincided with the saying that time was not time, but 1,000 years in the blink of an eye. Time seemed to say that someone had entered the world inside the ancient alloy box through this tunnel, but time did not destroy that person's body. It seemed to say that someone had entered the world inside the ancient alloy box through this tunnel, but time did not destroy that person's body. He was looking for a starting point, but he was lost in the dark world. This sentence seemed to say that the person was looking for something, but he was lost in the dark world. This dark world could also be understood as the world inside the ancient alloy box. Princess Yong Mei had described it before. She said that the world inside the box was dark. There was nothing there, and it was very cold. Her description was another form of evidence. This was what Charlotte analyzed and understood based on Peaceful's words. He felt that his analysis and understanding were about right. But Peaceful did not finish. Peaceful's last sentence was, He has almost forgotten himself. The only thing he can do is. It was that sentence that confused him. He could not understand what it meant. No matter what, it was not easy to find a clue. I have to give it a try. Charlotte turned around and left the underground lab. 10 minutes later, Charlotte returned to the lab. He was holding a plastic bag. Inside the bag was a cicada and a cricket. He had caught them in the green belt outside the mansion. There was also a live chicken that he had requested from the cafeteria. It was not in a plastic bag, but it was held in his other hand. Cluck, cluck, cluck. The live chicken kept clucking. The chicken's brain was very simple. He did not know if it was afraid or not. The live chicken did not die immediately after entering the underground lab, and it did not show any signs of going crazy. But a crazy chicken was something that not many people in this world had seen before. Charlotte was not in the mood to study the reaction of a live chicken exposed to the ancient alloy energy field. After returning to the lab, he grabbed the cicada and used a pair of tweezers to carefully shove it into the hole in the ancient alloy box. A minute later, the space above the ancient alloy box rippled with energy, but it was not a cicada that appeared. Instead, it was a gray and fine ash. Then, Charlotte put the cricket in. The result was the same. A minute later, what appeared in the air was not a cricket, but a small amount of fine ash. It was obvious that the cricket and the cicada could not withstand the weathering of 1,000 years. When they came out, they had already turned to ash. There was no way of knowing how long the cricket and cicada had been in the world inside the box, but outside, it was only a minute. Life and death had been decided. After a short pause, Charlotte grabbed the live chicken and carefully shoved it into the hole in the ancient alloy box. The size of the chicken was several times larger than the entire ancient alloy box, but the strange thing was that the gap was like a real black hole. The energy field of any object that entered it would change and be compressed. When the entire chicken was put in, the chicken didn't even touch the ancient alloy box. It gave people the feeling that it would not be a problem to put a car in, let alone a chicken. Because any object that wanted to enter the hole would trigger a mysterious energy field. Once it was triggered, the energy field would open up like the mouth of a funnel, and bigger objects could be put in. Charlotte did not try to see how big the hole in the ancient alloy box could be, but he guessed that if he wanted to go in, he could. The space trembled, and then a pile of chicken bones fell down, along with some fine ash. The chicken bones smashed onto the workbench and turned into powder. Not even a complete bone was left. Before trying these 3 things, Charlotte had another idea. He wanted to take the risk and enter the space inside the box. But now, he retreated again. He only had one life. Although he might see the truth after going in, if he had to pay the price with his life, he would rather not see the truth. After trying, Charlotte fell into deep thought. Peaceful words were a hint to let people go in, but in this situation, who would dare to go in? But if I don't go in, this clue is meaningless. Sigh. He sighed. He had finally found a clue, but he did not expect to be stuck again. Ring, 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 ring. Charlotte's phone suddenly rang. He took it out and looked at it. Then, he swiped the answer button. Masato, speak. What is it? Lu Xing went to the office to look for you, but you weren't there. I asked him, and he said that a few Germans came and wanted to see you. I told him that I wanted to contact you, but he is still waiting for a reply. Should I let those Germans in? It was Ryu Youngnam's voice. A few Germans? Charlotte frowned. Did Lu Xing ask about their identity and why they came? Ryu Youngnam's voice came from the phone. Then, the voice became clearer. Brother, I just asked. Lu Xing said that the German ambassador came before, and his name is Philip. His assistant is a woman called Alita. There is also a woman, and he doesn't know her name. She is very young. I understand. I'll be right there. Charlotte said, Masato, you ask Lu Xing to let them in, and then bring them to my office. Got it, brother. Ryu Youngnam hung up the phone. Charlotte's mouth couldn't help but show a smile. This was the first time that Xia Shui wasn't by Ryu Youngnam's side, and Ryu Youngnam called him brother. This showed that the relationship between Ryu Youngnam and Xia Shui had developed to the level of half a family. Ryu Youngnam had a good personality and was capable. More importantly, he saw from the last trip to Germany that Ryu Youngnam was a person who valued relationship. Xia Shui was with Ryu Youngnam, so he was relieved as her brother. However, the smile on Charlotte's face quickly disappeared. The Thunder Horse military factory had just completed a comprehensive upgrade, and the Hellhound cannon had just been launched. The Germans came to the door again. As the saying goes, those who come are not kind, and those who are kind don't come. This time, Philip was probably ordered by the German government. A moment later, Xia Lei collected all the items and put them into the safe. A young German woman? Lu Xing doesn't know her. She is obviously not Anina. Maybe she is a German agent or a government worker. Leaving the villa and walking to the office building, Charlotte pondered in his heart. Before he reached the office building, Xia Shui ran over and said from a distance, "Brother, I have something to tell you." "What's the matter?" Charlotte said with a smile. "Don't tell me you want me to prepare your dowry?" Xia Shui's cheeks suddenly blushed. She hit Charlotte's arm. "Brother, we haven't reached that level yet. Don't lie to me. Masato has changed to call me brother. This means that you are already discussing when to get married, right? It doesn't matter. When I, Charlotte, marry my sister, there will definitely be a dowry of 1 billion or 800 million. Charlotte's mood became better again. "I don't want to talk to you anymore." Xia Shui couldn't resist Charlotte's teasing, so she turned and ran. Charlotte said, "Didn't you say you wanted to talk to me about something? Why did you run again?" Xia Shui stopped. I forgot. It's all because of you. Tell me what's the matter." "Today I received a package. It was sent to the school. I also went to the school to pick it up." "That's it?" Charlotte was a bit baffled. Xia Shui said, "It's not an ordinary package. It contains..." Before Xia Shui finished speaking, a man's voice suddenly came from above her head. "Mr. Xia, I'm here again. How long are you going to let me wait up there?" Xia Shui looked up and saw the German ambassador, Philip. Xia Shui said, "Brother, you go and do your business first. When you are done, I will talk to you again." Charlotte thought for a moment and said, "Don't touch the things in the package. Bring the package to my office later." "And I got it." Xia Shui ran away happily. Chapter 654. There were 3 people in the office. Charlotte knew about Philip and his assistant, Alida, but he didn't expect the third person to be her. The European version of Charami, Germany's top mechanic, Sylvia. She didn't change much. Her burgundy hair was tied into a simple ponytail. Paired with a delicate face that could be compared to an Asian woman, she was as pretty as a doll. However, under her innocent appearance, there was a sexy and ruthless figure. Her plump body, her slender waist, and her plump and perky buttocks were like ripe peaches, which could easily arouse the desire of men. The red-haired beauty in front of him reminded Charlotte of his second time in Germany. "Mr. Xia, we meet again." Sylvia took the initiative to extend a hand to Charlotte with a smile. "How are you?" Charlotte came back to his senses. He shook Sylvia's hand, smiled, and said in German, "I'm fine, Miss Sylvia. Hello, welcome to China." After a pause he said, "This isn't Germany. You can rest assured that there won't be any kidnappings or terrorist attacks directed by the government, and there won't be any persecution." He was talking about the things that the German government had done. Philip's expression became a little awkward. He was standing there representing the German government. Charlotte said those things in front of him. He felt that Charlotte was already setting up obstacles for the upcoming conversation. "Mr. Xia, it's nice to see you again. No matter what, Philip still shamelessly greeted Charlotte and shook hands with Charlotte. After a few words of greeting, Charlotte invited the three Germans to take a seat. Ryu Young-nam made coffee for the three Germans and a cup of tea for Charlotte. Charlotte hadn't hired a secretary, so this kind of thing could only be done by him as an assistant. "Get the HR department to find me a secretary," Charlotte said. In the past, he didn't think that there was anything wrong with Ryu Young-nam doing these things, but Ryu Young-nam was now Xia Shui's boyfriend, and he would be his brother-in-law in the future. He felt that it was inappropriate to let him do these things. Ryu Young-nam was very attentive and whispered, "Brother, it's nothing. But you really should hire a secretary. I'll go talk to the Human Resource Department and let them pick a suitable secretary for you. What do you want?" "I don't have any requirements as long as you know a foreign language and are good at your job," Charlotte said. Ryu Young-nam left with Charlotte's request. "Speak." After Ryu Young-nam left, Charlotte went straight to the point. "What brings the three of you here?" "It's like this, hee." Philip said with a smile, "We specially sent Sylvia over for inspection and technical exchange." "Inspection and technical exchange?" Charlotte's gaze moved to Sylvia. "Just you alone?" Sylvia nodded. "And just me alone." Charlotte smiled. "You represent Rainmetal, right? However, I don't have any official letter from Rainmetal." "You came because I told you to come for inspection and technical exchange. But the problem is, did I agree to it? Moreover, even if I agree, it won't work. The higher-ups have to agree first. Many of the technologies and equipment of Thunder Horse Military Factory were military secret. Germany's Rainmetal sent a technical representative for inspection and technical exchange. This definitely needed the approval of the higher-up. Even if Charlotte was the boss of Thunder Horse Military Factory, he didn't have the right to allow such a thing. Sylvia glanced at Philip. Philip gave Alita a look. Alita then took out a document from her briefcase and handed it to Charlotte with both hands. Xiaolei opened the file and glanced at it. He immediately frowned. The person who signed the document to allow Sylvia to come to Thunder Horse Military Factory for inspection and technical exchange was actually Yu Shanha. He had enough weight to write such words. However, the content of the document was very simple. Other than the approval for Sylvia to come to Thunder Horse Military Factory for inspection and technical exchange, there was nothing else. Charlotte thought to himself, "That's strange. Even if Yu Shanha wanted to mess with me, he wouldn't be so stupid as to allow a German arms magnate to send someone to steal and learn from me? What's the difference between this and betrayal? Could it be that someone from the higher-ups has made a deal with the German government?" Then Philip said, "Mr. Xia, as you can see, we've already gotten your permission. So, please facilitate this good thing." "Good thing?" Charlotte laughed. "I don't think this is a good thing. Moreover, Yu Shanha agreed, but I didn't. This is Thunder Horse Military Factory, my private enterprise. Can Yu Shanha make the decision for me?" Philip's face suddenly turned ugly. Sylvia was also anxious. "Mr. Xia, I know you're still upset about what happened in Germany, but that's none of my business. I'm just here for inspection and technical exchange. Ring ring, ring ring ring." A series of ringtones interrupted Sylvia's words. Charlotte took out his phone and glanced at it, then got up and walked to the door. At the door, he slid the answer button. "Charlotte, the Germans are already at your place, right?" Tang Tianlong's voice came from the phone. "Uncle Tang, what's going on?" Charlotte said directly. "I saw the document signed by Yu Shanha, but he didn't explain the reason. Sylvia is the most powerful mechanic in Germany, and she also represents Rainmetal, which is the leader of Germany's military industry. Do you understand the severity of this matter?" "Of course I understand the severity of this matter," Tang Tianlong said. "I'm calling to tell you the reason. The document you saw was signed by Yu Shanha, yes, but the person who finalized this matter wasn't Yu Shanha." "Then who was it?" Don't ask, I'll tell you the reason. Tang Tianlong said, this is still a deal. The German side will send a technical team to help us produce and manufacture the Typhoon fighter engine. Isn't that production line completed? It's completed, but our manpower isn't good, and it's still a little lacking. Although the problem can be solved after a period of exploration, the effect will undoubtedly be better if the German technicians personally come to help. You know, the reason won't be written on the document. So that's the reason. Alright, I'm fine with it. Charlotte never refused anything that was beneficial to the country. Wait, why did he want to say something? Charlotte's heart skipped a beat. Uncle Tang, if you have something to say, just say it. I'll tell you this in private, so you have to keep your mouth shut. Well, I won't tell anyone. The German called Sylvia coming to your factory is only the first part of the deal. Later, the Germans will send a team of all technicians to your factory to conduct a comprehensive inspection of your military factory. Charlotte's brows suddenly furrowed. He was actually not afraid of Sylvia, because no matter how powerful she was just a mechanic, a person who processed parts. However, it would be another matter if a team composed entirely of technicians was stationed in the Thunder Horse military factory. The artillery technology, tank technology, and defense system technology of the Thunder Horse military factory were all improved and upgraded based on Rheinmetall's technology. If a team of all highly skilled technicians were stationed at the Thunder Horse military factory, it would be difficult to guarantee that some key improvements and upgrades would not be stolen by the other party. If Rheinmetall also upgraded their production line, the Thunder Horse military factory's pace of conquering the world market would not be so easy. Also, after a pause, Tang Tianlong said, there's one last part. When the German personnel leave, they will take away a Thunder Dragon intelligent machine tool. Of course, it's the first generation, not the second. Take away a Thunder Dragon intelligent machine tool? Then Rheinmetall can start the XL 2500 production line and Gale assault rifle production line that I built in Germany. Do you know what this means? Charlotte's voice was full of anger. I know you're not happy, but I think you should first understand what your sacrifice will bring us. What did the Germans sacrifice? It's submarine technology. Charlotte was taken aback for a moment. The Germans were the first country to use submarines in combat. During World War II, the Germans' U-boats were outstanding. After World War II, many countries' submarine technology was also developed based on the Germans' submarine technology. But now, the Germans' conventional submarine technology was still leading the world. Their conventional submarines were the quietest and almost impossible to detect. They were the true killer of large warship. If they could get the Germans' advanced submarine technology, it would be a great thing for the country and its people. You know, our sea is not quiet. Our submarine technology is behind the European and American countries. Even Japan is ahead of us. This is an opportunity, and we need your help. I won't say anything about glory and merit. I know you don't care about those things, but I know you. But I know you as a person. You have a passionate, patriotic heart. You also want our country to be stable and strong, right? Charlotte was silent for a moment and then said, You've always wanted me to give, and I've always given. I've never asked anything from you. This time, I have a request, and you must satisfy it. What request do you have? Just mention it. I'll tell you 3 days later. That's all, said Charlotte. Okay, I'll come and talk to you personally. Tang Tianlong hung up the phone. Charlotte turned and entered the office with a smile on his face. Miss Sylvia, I'll get someone to arrange a place for you later. We have a VIP room specially prepared for our client. Sylvia was stunned for a moment before she also smiled. Mr. Xia, I knew you would agree. But I won't be staying in the VIP room. I heard from Anina that you have a villa here. She used to live in that villa. Can I stay in her room? She actually talked to Anina and even said that she wanted to stay in Anina's room. What's going on? Is there a problem? Charlotte shrugged. No problem. Chapter 655. You've always wanted me to contribute, and I've always been contributing. I've never asked for anything from you. This time, I have a request, and you have to fulfill it. That was what Charlotte told Tang Tianlong. He wanted to send a message to the higher-ups through Tang Tianlong. This time, he wouldn't be contributing for nothing. His request was actually very simple, and that was the return of his father, Xia Changhe. All this while, he had been building up his contributions and working hard for China's military industry, and he had never asked for anything in return. Now that the Thunder Horse military factory had been fully upgraded, and the Hellhound cannon was born, along with more advanced heavy weapons and defense systems, it was time for his father, Xia Changhe, to return. This time, Sylvia's arrival was the perfect time to raise this request. If he missed this opportunity, he wouldn't be able to bring it up. Actually, Charlotte didn't care about how much money he could earn or how much glory he could obtain. It was more meaningful for him to let his father return and live a normal life. However, before raising this request, the first thing Charlotte had to do was to find his father, Xia Changhe, and talk to him. However, this wasn't an easy task. His father, Xia Changhe, had always been elusive. He would only appear when Xia Yang wanted to see him, and he had never taken the initiative to meet him. After settling Sylvia in Anina's room in the villa, Charlotte began to ponder how he could find his father, Xia Changhe. I have to talk to him. If I raise this request and the higher-ups agree to it, but he's not willing, then it'll be terrible. If I miss this opportunity, there won't be a next time. Even if he doesn't agree, I have to find a way to convince him, Charlotte thought to himself. Sylvia opened her luggage and took out a huge envelope before handing it to Charlotte. Mr. Xia, this is what Anina asked me to pass to you. Charlotte took the envelope and opened it to find a stack of photos. These photos were all of Anina, and each one was related to her castle. There were pictures of her standing in front of the castle behind her magnificent. There were photos of her in a bikini next to the swimming pool in the castle. The water in the swimming pool was crystal clear. There were pictures of her naked on the side of a soft and comfortable bed. There was also a photo of her barbecuing on the balcony of the castle, wearing only a pair of triangular panties. The beef on the barbecue rack was almost 80% done. Anina had gotten her wish. She was happy now. That was enough. Charlotte's lips curled into a smile as he put the photos away. She is so happy, said Sylvia, her blue eyes a little enviously. Have you become friends with Anina? Charlotte asked casually. Sylvia said, Yes, I stayed at her place for a while before I came to Germany. She talked a lot about you. What did he talk about? Don't worry. Sylvia said with a smile. She didn't say a word about the secrets of the Thunder Horse military factory. We only talked about women's topics, emotions and life. Well, she shared her love story with me. As a woman, I envy her. You rest first. I still have to do something. Charlotte turned and left. Mr. Xia, can I have the honor of having dinner with you? Sylvia suddenly said. Charlotte stopped but didn't look back. Not today. Next time. Also, I have to remind you that there are our special forces guards here. All your actions are under their surveillance. Don't do anything stupid. Sylvia curled her lips. I'm not a child. Charlotte didn't say anything more to her and left. How to find my father, Xia Changhe. This was a problem he urgently needed to solve. He wasn't in the mood to chat with Sylvia. Leaving the villa, Charlotte walked to the parking lot. Brother. Xia Shui chased after him with a package. Are you going out? Seeing the package in Xia Shui's hand, Charlotte remembered what Xia Shui mentioned to him before. His left eye moved slightly. Before Xia Shui handed the package to him, he had already seen what was inside. The package contained a lot of Russian documents and some photos. Before Charlotte could take a closer look, Xia Shui had already walked to his side. "Brother, it's this package. You asked me to bring it to you, and I brought it to you. Take a look. The things inside are so strange. I don't understand Russian. Otherwise, I would know what it is." Charlotte took the package and said, "Don't leave the factory these days. You tell Masao not to leave the Thunder Horse military factory." "What happened?" Xia Shui was slightly nervous. Charlotte said, "Don't worry about it. Just listen to me. Remember, this is not a joke. I'm serious. Don't leave the Thunder Horse military factory." Xia Shui said, "Well, I'll call the school and ask for a few days off. Go back. I'll take care of this package," Charlotte said. "And then I'll go back." Xia Shui left. Charlotte got into the driver's seat of the Chevrolet Suburban off-road vehicle. Then, he opened the package and took out the documents and photos inside. Those photos were very old photos, and the content was related to a teenager. The teenager was a Chinese teenager. One photo was of the teenager shooting 2 Russian soldiers with an AK-47. Another photo was of the teenager training for fighting. Several strong teenagers of the same age were lying beside him. There were white and black people. One photo was of the teenager standing straight and saluting a black flag. The flag was just dark, and there was nothing on it. There were a few other photos, but the content was bloody and cruel. This teenager was none other than the teenage version of Xia Changhe. Charlotte looked at the document. Several documents in the package were secret documents of the FA organization. The content of the documents was different, but they were all related to Xia Changhe's mission in China. With these documents, Xia Changhe was enough to be shot 10 times. Xia Shui didn't know Devon, and she couldn't see that the teenager in the photo was her father. This was not surprising. After all, she was just an ordinary person. She didn't even know what the FA organization was. But what Charlotte didn't understand was why the package containing the secret documents and photos of the FA organization was sent to Xia Shui. This is obviously the work of the FA organization. But if the FA organization wants to threaten me, isn't it simpler and more effective to come at me directly? They sent the package to Xia Shui. Are they trying to tell me that Xia Shui is also their target? Charlotte thought in his heart. This seemed to be the only explanation. Charlotte put the documents and photos into the package, then started the car and left the Lei Ma Jun factory. Ring ring, ring ring ring. The phone suddenly rang. It was a strange number. Charlotte switched the phone to Bluetooth mode, and a woman's voice came from the car's speaker system. "Charlotte, long time no see. Have you been living well recently?" This voice was the voice of Gu Qian. Even if it turned into ashes, Charlotte would still remember it. Charlotte sneered. "I was wondering who it was. It turned out to be you. That package was sent by you, right? If you want to threaten me with the things in the package, I advise you to give up." "I sent it, but I didn't threaten you. I just think that there are some things that you need to see and they should be kept by you. After all, it's your father's things. How can you get the secret documents of the FA organization?" Charlotte had a trace of doubt in his heart. "Do you want to know the answer? Come to Japan to find me, and I will tell you everything. But the question is, do you dare?" Gu Qian's tone was full of provocation. Charlotte suddenly thought of another woman, Yamosa. In Japan, Yamosa, the ace killer of the FA organization, used Gu Qian as bait to deal with him. Later, Long Bing killed Gu Qian, but Gu Qian was later resurrected. This matter must have something to do with Yamosa. Oh, I suddenly understand. You are probably getting a salary from a CA, but you are working for the FA organization, right? You really know how to make up stories. You should be a screenwriter. Is Yamasa with you? Let her talk to me. I don't know who you are talking about. I'm thinking, if the things in the package appear in Sherboran's office, what will happen in the end? It wasn't a threat, but every word was a threat. Tell me, what do you want? It's not clear on the phone. Let's meet. Okay, when and where? Wait for my call. After that, Gu Qian hung up the phone. Meet? A cold smile appeared on Charlotte's face. Whether it was the CIB or the FA organization, their target was him. So whether standing in the CIB's camp or standing in the FA organization's camp, her target was still him. And his goal had never changed, that was to make Gu Qian disappear from this world. For this purpose, meeting Gu Qian was also necessary. An electric scooter suddenly rushed out from the side of the country road. It was a girl riding the scooter. She looked very clumsy and almost hit Charlotte's car. Charlotte braked, poked his head out of the window, and asked with concern, "Are you okay?" The little girl also stopped the scooter and looked back at Charlotte. Only then did Charlotte realize that she was not a little girl at all. Her chest was full and firm, and her butt was also big. She was completely a mature woman. Then his eyes moved to her face, and he also found that she was wearing a human skin mask. This woman was none other than his father, Xia Changhe's assistant, Yelena. It was no wonder that Charlotte didn't recognize her. In the past, when Yelena appeared, she always rode a motorcycle and wore a tight black leather suit, which was very eye-catching. This time, she rode an electric scooter and dressed like a little girl, which was not her style at all. Yelena just glanced at Charlotte, then rode the scooter forward. She didn't speak, nor did she chew gum, which was obviously a sign for him to follow her. Charlotte then started the scooter and followed her from a distance. Yelena didn't ride on the main road for long. About 5 minutes later, she rode the scooter into a country road. This road was just wide enough to accommodate Charlotte's car. If a car came from the opposite direction, he wouldn't be able to take the wrong one. On both sides of the country road were farmland with vegetables and food crops, and there were farmers working in the fields. Yelena didn't stop, and Charlotte bit the bullet and followed her. Chapter 656. At the end of the country road was a village. By the time he saw it, it was already half an hour later. This place was no longer within the boundaries of Whitestag town. It was very remote, and Charlotte had never been here before. A Shiba Inu barked fiercely at Xia Lei's Chevrolet Suburban off-road vehicle. After Charlotte honked the horn, the dog ran away. In front of him, Yelena rode the battery-powered scooter up an even smaller road on the hillside. Charlotte could no longer drive up this road. He got off the scooter and climbed up on foot. Yelena did not stop. She quickly disappeared on the shaded path. After Xia Lei climbed for a few hundred meters, he saw a small farmyard. There were a few blue-tiled houses and a courtyard wall. Behind the house was a dense bamboo forest, and further away was an even denser mountain forest. The door of the farmhouse's courtyard was tightly shut, and the paint on the door was almost peeling off. There were clumps of black, white, and red, but the colors were not bright. It gave off the feeling of being battered by wind and rain for decades. Xia Lei walked over. He didn't knock on the door and directly pushed it open because he had already seen the situation behind the door. In the yard, Yelena was standing behind a middle-aged man. The middle-aged man had a yellowish-black face and a pair of large hands full of calluses. He looked like a farmer through and through. But Charlotte knew that he was no farmer. He was his father, Xia Changhe. His father, Xia Changhe, wore a human skin mask just like Yelena. Charlotte couldn't help but smile. He was worried that he wouldn't be able to find his father, Xia Changhe. He didn't think that he would appear when he wanted to see him. It was like this every time. "Dad, have you always lived here?" Charlotte closed the gate and walked up. Xia Changhe opened his arms and hugged Charlotte. He patted Charlotte's back hard and said, "The FA organization and the CIA are after me all over the world. Where is the safest place?" Of course it was China. After you came back from Germany, I took a fancy to this place. The owners of the house had moved into town, and I rented the place, which they had abandoned. This place is very close to you. If something happens to you, I can rush over to help you as soon as possible. I really didn't expect you to be by my side. Charlotte couldn't help but smile. Yelena said, when I'm free, I'll stay in Whitestag and gather information about you. Your father and I know almost everything that has happened to you. Otherwise, why do you think I would appear at this time today? You already know what happened? Charlotte was a little surprised. Yelena suddenly put her finger in her mouth and whistled loudly. Charlotte suddenly realized something and turned to look in the direction of the gate. The gate disappeared from his left eye, and he saw a young man in a security uniform walking over with a package in his arms. What surprised him was that the package was given to him by Xia Shui. He didn't take it with him when he went up the mountain. Then, his eyes fixed on the young man's face and he suddenly froze. That young man was actually a security guard of Thunder Horse Military Factory, Lu Xing's subordinate. Charlotte remembered his name. He was Erdemo, a Mongolian. When Thunder Horse Military Factory expanded its recruitment of security guards, those who had retired from the army were given priority. He didn't expect that such an ordinary worker would appear in front of him in such a way. Erdemo opened the gate and walked in. When he saw Charlotte, he lowered his head and said with an ashamed look, Chairman Xia, I'm sorry. I'm working for your father. Charlotte smiled bitterly and wanted to say something, but he couldn't. Fortunately, he was working for his father, Xia Changhe. It would have been terrible if he had been working for the FA organization or the CIA. Erdemo handed the package to Xia Changhe. Xia Changhe opened it, took a few glances and then sneered, They finally used me to threaten you. It seems that whether it is the FA or the CIA, their patience has been worn out by you. Charlotte said, This package was sent by Gu Qian. I suspect that she is now a double agent. On the surface, she is the Asian director of the CIA, but in fact, she is working for Yamosa of the FA organization. Back then, Long Bing killed Gu Qian in Japan, and Yamosa took her body away. Gu Qian is resurrected, and the person who can save her can only be Yamosa. Xia Changhe glanced at Erdemo and said, You can leave and keep an eye on the outside. Erdemuta nodded, turned around and left the farmhouse. Only then did Charlotte say, Dad, is he reliable? Xia Changhe said, If he wasn't reliable, he would have died a long time ago. I knew him more than 10 years ago, when he was only 9 years old. His mother was seriously ill, and his father broke his leg on the construction site. I paid for his mother to be cured and supported him to study. Every winter, I would go to Mongolia and train him personally. Charlotte couldn't help but look at Yelena. Yelena was also the Russian version of Erdemo. It seemed that his father, Xia Changhe, was very good at cultivating his own strength in this way. Dad, how many people like this do you have? Charlotte asked. He was very curious about this. Xia Changhe said, 12. I don't need a team of dozens or hundreds of people. I just need an elite team that is competent for any mission. They are distributed all over the world and can come and go at my beck and call. They are all trained by me personally, but they have their own areas of expertise. It can be said that they are all people that I have carefully selected. The one who just left, his code name is Tiger. Xia Lei suddenly felt that his father was really an old shark who was hiding his strength. Xia Changhe stepped aside and pointed at Yelena. Her code name is Chicken. Chicken? Charlotte didn't expect that Yelena actually had such a code name in his father's mind. Rat, cow, tiger, rabbit, dragon, snake, horse, sheep, monkey, chicken, dog, pig. Xia Changhe said, Their code names are one of the 12 zodiac animals. The one that Liang Xiao killed is a pig. Charlotte couldn't forget that woman. Her name was Yevgenia. In Haizhu, Liang Xiao killed her with a sniper rifle. At that time, she was being exposed to him as the real identity of Liang Xiao. Yevgenia is already dead. After a pause, Charlotte said, Has anyone replaced her position? Of course. Who? Xia Changhe smiled. I will keep her secret for now, but you will know when it's time to let you know. You have to remember that this Zodiac team is the only gift that I, as your father, can give you. Now, I give this team to you. From now on, they will listen to your orders. Charlotte was stunned on the spot. He knew very well that the reason why his father, Xia Changhe, could survive the global pursuit of the CIA and the FA organization was because of this Zodiac team. Also, the reason why his father, Xia Changhe, could grasp information from all over the world was undoubtedly because of this Zodiac team. This Zodiac team was equivalent to his talisman, and now his father was giving it to him. A father's love was like a mountain. Charlotte's eyes were slightly wet. Dad, you are giving me the team that you have worked so hard to build. What are you going to do? Xia Changhe sighed. You are in such a hurry to find me, how can I not know what you are thinking? You have made so many contributions, isn't it to exchange for a peace for me, a time when I can take my grandchildren to the park in my old age? I am old, and it is time for me to step down. But your road has just begun, and this Zodiac team can help you. Nothing could be hidden from his father, an old shark was indeed an old shark. Dad, does that mean you agree? If I don't agree, then wouldn't all your efforts be in vain? I am afraid that Xia Shui has almost forgotten me. If I don't go home soon, I am afraid that she won't recognize me. She is about to marry that boy named Ryu Youngnam, right? I don't want to miss her wedding. Xia Changhe's eyes were full of peace and expectation. No father was willing to miss his daughter's wedding, even if he was a shark-level father like Xia Changhe. Charlotte couldn't help but show an excited smile. That's good. I can propose it to the top. I have paid so much, and I only have one request. They have no reason not to agree to it. Yelena was a little worried. Then how will you tell those people about your father's identity? Charlotte smiled. It doesn't matter. What matters is that he is my father. If they don't agree, they will regret it. Xia Changhe said, I am not worried about that. What I am worried about is the FA organization. With the style of the FA organization, they will never send you a package to threaten you. Charlotte said, If they attack, I will fight back. I will make them regret it. This time, I will kill Gu Qian no matter what. You don't have a decent bodyguard around you. Take Yelena with you. She is a good marksman and is best at eliminating potential dangerous target. Do you know why her code name is Chicken? Chicken can eat bugs hidden in the grass, Xia Changhe said. Charlotte looked at Yelena. Are you willing to come with me? Yelena slightly raised the corner of her mouth. Because of your father, I can do anything for you. Xia Lei smiled. All right, I happen to be lacking a secretary by my side. You'll do it. He had originally asked the personnel department to hire a secretary for him, but now that he had Yelena, there was no need to hire another secretary. Xia Changhe said, You have met 2 members of the Zodiac team, and there are 10 more you haven't met. Once I'm done with my business, I'll gather them to meet with you. I want to announce it in front of them. Will the person with the code name Pig come? Charlotte asked. Xia Changhe patted Charlotte's shoulder and said with a smile, Don't worry, you will know who she is when the time comes. Charlotte couldn't help but guess the identity of the pig, but unfortunately, he couldn't guess it. Yelena, you go back with Charlotte. From now on, you are his person. As his secretary, you don't need to hide anymore. Take off your mask, Xia Changhe said. Yelena didn't say anything and just nodded. Then, she took off the human skin mask on her face, revealing her original face. Blonde hair, blue eyes, tall body, long legs, she was very sexy, but also gave people a very dangerous feeling. Charlotte also understood that the reason why a dangerous person like Yelena was willing to obey him was because of his father, Xia Changhe. Although his father had retired, these people would still listen to his orders. So, as long as his father was still alive, the members of the Zodiac team would unite around him and listen to his orders. Facing the threat of the CIA and the FA organization, Charlotte felt for the first time that his fist was hard. Chapter 657. The Chevrolet Suburban off-road van slowly drove to the Thunder Horse Army factory. Yelena, you can speak Chinese, but only some spoken language. Can you read and write? Charlotte asked as he drove. Yelena said, I've been by your father's side for so many years. Do you think I only have the ability to speak Chinese? The language she was using at the moment was Chinese. Although it had a bit of a foreigner's accent, it was very fluent. Hearing her tone, Charlotte felt that his question was superfluous. Do you have a Chinese name? Isn't my Russian name transliterated to be my Chinese name? My surname is Yi, and my name is Na. Charlotte shrugged. I don't have any questions. To the outside world, I'll just say that you're a high-level talent I hired from the talent market. You're Russian. Yelena interrupted Charlotte. All the fake files are ready, the whole set. Charlotte shut his mouth and drove. He was still worried that something would go wrong and arouse the suspicion of some people with ulterior motives, but they had everything ready. What else could he worry about? Back at the Thunder Horse Army factory, Dubai, the director of the personnel department, led a girl to Charlotte. The girl who came from Dubai's office was very young, in her early 20s. She had an oval face, big and bright eyes, and a good figure. The places that should be big were big, and the places that should be curvy were curvy. Not only were they plump, but they were also tight. With this appearance and this figure, she was like a charming little goblin, tempting people to make mistakes. Chairman Xia, her name is Qin Kaiwe. I just brought her back from the talent market. She graduated from Tsing University, majoring in materials science and engineering. She also majored in economics and finance and received a degree. She also knows English, Japanese, and German. She's a rare high-level talent. Dubai introduced her to Charlotte with a proud look on his face. Hello, Chairman Xia. Qin Kaiwe greeted Charlotte politely with a smile on her face. As she spoke, her hands were placed between her legs, and her small waist was slightly bent. Her movements were relaxed and natural, giving people a very comfortable feeling. Hello, hello. Charlotte also responded politely, and then pulled Dubai to the side. To be honest, this Qin Kaiwe made him a little move. Of course, this girl was definitely not because she was beautiful or a sexy beauty, but because she was a real talent. Materials science and engineering, which corresponded to the Thunder Horse Army factory. In addition, she had obtained a degree in economics and finance, which could help him deal with the company affairs. In addition, she had obtained a degree in economics and finance. However, he had given this position to Yelena. What could Yelena do? Bombing, assassination, tracking, intelligence, and intelligence. Chairman Xia, are you satisfied? Dubai had a smirk on his face. He was one of the people who founded the Lima Group with Xiaolei. He was the hero of the Lima Group and had a good relationship with Xiaolei, so he would not be too reserved in front of Xiaolei. Charlotte whispered, I'm satisfied, but I also found a secretary from the job market. Dubai couldn't help but look at Yelena and said in surprise, Baidu, what should we do? Lu Zhu told me that it was your idea, and I went to find someone right away. You don't know, but the bosses of several companies are fighting for Miss Qing. But when I said that we are the Thunder Horse Army factory, and she is here to be your secretary, they immediately rejected the people from the other companies. In that case, it was really difficult to deal with. At this time, Yelena walked over and pulled Charlotte's sleeve. Xiaolei understood tacitly and followed her a little further away. Let her be your secretary. Yelena went straight to the point. What about you? She is your first secretary, and I am your second secretary. Yelena said, You should know that I am not qualified for the job she is qualified for. My task is to eliminate potential threats around you and protect you. You can't expect me to show you documents when I am doing this kind of work, right? Alright, it's decided. Since Yelena had no opinion and took the initiative to propose it, then Charlotte could make a decision. In this way, Charlotte had 2 more secretaries by his side. One was the blonde Yelena, and the other was the talented woman, Chin Kaiwe, who looked like a little goblin. Dinner was a big table of people, and Charlotte specially invited Sylvia and Chin Kaiwe. Ryu Youngnam and Xia Shui were also eating at the same table. Together with Yelena, the atmosphere was very lively. Chin Kaiwe was very sensible. When Charlotte just finished a glass of red wine, she got up and refilled Charlotte's wine. She also said, "Baidu, you have to drink less. Drinking too much is bad for your body." Her voice was gentle and pleasant to listen to, coupled with her enchanting face. These factors easily attracted men. It wasn't just Charlotte. Even Ryu Youngnam couldn't help but take another look at her. Unfortunately, his actions were seen by Xia Shui. Her punishment was also very timely. She stretched her hand under the table and pinched Ryu Youngnam hard. Ryu Youngnam didn't dare to be angry or say anything, so he obediently accepted it and behaved himself. Charlotte smiled. "Kaiwe, don't mind me. Just eat." "All right." Chin Kaiwe sat down beside Charlotte again, looking very peaceful. Compared to Chin Kaiwe, Charlotte's other secretary, Yelena, gave off a completely different vibe. She hadn't said a single word since dinner started. She sat beside Charlotte and enjoyed her dinner, giving off a cold vibe. "Masahiro, go look for the mayor of Whitestag tomorrow," Charlotte said, changing the topic. "Get him to approve a few acres of land." "Brother, why do you want a few acres of land?" Ryu Youngnam asked in confusion. "We took a lot of land for the expansion last time. We haven't finished using it yet." Charlotte said, "I'm not asking for the expansion. I'm asking for a house. I haven't been able to buy a house in the capital, so it's about time I build one here. Take the land beside our factory and build it right next to it. After you get the land, get the construction team to do the work. Let's build an old-fashioned courtyard. I don't want a courtyard house either. That's for northerners. I want a southerner's house." "Brother, are you going to settle down here?" Xia Shui asked excitedly. Charlotte nodded. "We spend most of our time in the capital. How can we not have a home here?" Lane Lodge was his home before his divorce from Shinto Tianin, so he didn't need to build a house. After his divorce with Shinto Tianin, Lane Lodge was no longer his home. His father, Xia Changhe, would be returning soon, so he had to give his father a place to enjoy his old age. He planned to build the house next to Lane's military factory. There would be regular warriors and special forces guarding the place. There would also be people from Innings 101 patrolling the perimeter for security, so it would be the safest place. Letting his father, Xia Changhe, live there would be both safe and beneficial for the family. "That's great. I agree." Charlotte seemed delighted. "But brother, what's your status now? Why are you only using a few acres of land to build a house? Sis Tianin used to build your house with her and yours. You can't lose to her when it comes to building a house. In my opinion, you should use 100 acres of land to build a huge manor. Beautiful and majestic. That's more befitting of your status." Charlotte, however, said, "What do you know? There's an old saying that goes, complacency invites disaster. Even if I build the most beautiful house, it might invite disaster one day. A house is just a place for people to live in. Most people only have a few hundred square meters of space. What do I need such a large place for? A few acres of land. Part of it can be used to build a house, another part can be used to plant flowers and plants, and another part can be used to grow fruits and vegetables. I'm already satisfied with that." In Xia Shui's mind, there was already a simple thatched house, then a farmland, and Xia lay working in the field with his trousers rolled up. The real situation was definitely not like this. Her heart was also a little disappointed, but Xia Lei's decision would not be easily changed. It was useless for her to persuade him again. "I'll go to the mayor of Whitestag to get the land tomorrow," said Ryu Yungnam. Charlotte nodded and raised his glass. "Let's toast to the new house." After dinner, Qin Kaiwe returned to the dormitory the company provided for her. Sylvia and Yelena followed Charlotte to the villa. Ever since he blew up Fanfan's lab, his authority had increased along with that explosion. He just greeted Wu Xiaogua, and then, regardless of Wu Xiaogua's opinion, directly brought Yelena into the villa and arranged a room for her. "You can stay here. Let me know if you need anything." Charlotte prepared to leave after arranging a room for Yelena. Yelena said, "I don't need anything for now. I'll let you know if I do. Also, I'll take action in special situations. So, don't be surprised if I suddenly burst open your door in the middle of the night while you're making out with some other woman." Charlotte smiled awkwardly. "I won't. I understand." "All right, I'm fine. Go back and rest," said Yelena. "Good night." Charlotte left Yelena's room. Back in his room, Charlotte looked through the secret documents of the FA organization in the package, as well as the photos of his dad when he was a teenager. Whether he should hand these things over or not, and who should he hand them over to, were questions that he needed to consider carefully. "I need to keep my dad safe. If I don't tell them who he is and what he did, what if he gets investigated again in the future? I've done so much, and this is a good opportunity, so I need to be thorough and solve the problem once and for all. I'll ask Tang Tianlong and Shi Boran to talk and show them the documents." "Yes, it's decided." Charlotte had made up his mind. That's right. This time, it was clear that he was using credit in exchange for his dad's safety. If he didn't reveal his dad's identity and what he had done, there would be hidden dangers. He would reveal his dad's identity and what he had done, and then ensure his dad's safety. Based on the secret deal between the higher-ups and Germany, there was no way this wouldn't work. There was another advantage to doing this, and that was, he was no longer afraid that the FA organization would threaten him with his dad's secret. Putting away the documents and photos, Charlotte's eyes moved to the wall on the left. Behind that wall was Sylvia's room. What was the German female mechanic doing at this time? As soon as this thought occurred to him, Charlotte's left eye twitched slightly, and the wall disappeared from his left eye's vision. Chapter 658. Charlotte always maintained a trace of vigilance towards Sylvia. In the room, Sylvia was typing on her laptop. Perhaps it was because of the hot weather, she was only wearing a set of bikini underwear, a white bra without padding, and a pair of white underwear. Whether it was the bra or the underwear, the fabric was pitifully small. Under the light, the white fabric was slightly translucent. Thus, without the need to see through her underwear, some of the secret scenery on her body could be vaguely seen. The particles under the bra were already the skin of the buttocks, that kind of hazy beauty, and that delicate color could easily arouse the desire of the opposite sex. The European version of salami reminded Xia Lei of the Hun version of salami. I wonder if she's doing well now? If the United States didn't control that land, he would like to see her. But considering the risk factors, he had to give up this idea. Hopefully, Chirami could understand. Putting aside some tempting fantasies and the part about Chirami, Charlotte's gaze moved from Sylvia's buttocks to her laptop. Then he saw what Sylvia was typing. It was actually not a document, but an email. "Mr. Mark Amin, I have settled down at the Thunder Horse Military Factory. Mr. Xia didn't make things difficult for me and Mr. Philip, and we had a pleasant conversation. Tomorrow I will start my work, and I expect to get something. I haven't seen the Thunder Horse Military Factory's Hellhound cannon yet, and I hope to see it tomorrow. You asked me to send you an email every day to report on my work. This is the first email. But I still ask you to consider this decision, because I don't know what to write when I don't have a job. Well, that's all for today. Good morning, Mr. Mark Amin. Evening in China, morning in Germany. There was nothing improper in Sylvia's good morning to Mark Amin. Charlotte's heart moved. At this time, Mark Amin might be sitting at his desk waiting for Sylvia's email? Maybe he will reply and instruct Sylvia to do something. Sylvia yawned and stretched. Her soft and slender waist was slightly bent backward like a willow twig, and a little bit of golden armpit hair was exposed under her lotus-like arms. It was those naughty hairs that made her look even more sexy and enchanting. A mosquito suddenly landed on her butt and bit her without hesitation. "Oh, what?" Sylvia turned around abruptly, saw the mosquito, and slapped it. With a crisp sound, the mosquito died on the snow-white hill. The little bit of blood she had just sucked into her stomach was also squeezed out, staining her delicate snow-white skin red. The snow-white mound stopped trembling. Sylvia wiped off the bloodstains on her snow-white skin and scratched it. With this scratch, the rope-like fabric shifted a little to the side, revealing a secret seam that could make one spit out blood. Damn! Charlotte sighed in his heart. He didn't know if he should continue to spy on her. It's swollen. Oh my God, are China's mosquitoes all so fierce? Sylvia continued to scratch. A red mark was left on the snow-white round hill, and the cloth rope had also deviated from its original position. It didn't look like it anymore. Charlotte didn't have a nosebleed, but the fabric of his pants suddenly tightened and propped up a lot. Ding-dong. A crisp notification came from Sylvia's laptop. Charlotte's gaze moved to the top left corner of the screen. Sure enough, Sylvia's mailbox received a new email. So fast? Really, is he more anxious than the groom? Sylvia grumbled and finally stopped scratching her butt. She moved the mouse and opened the new email. The new email was indeed from Mark Amin. Miss Sylvia, I've read your email. I stand by my decision. Send me an email every day and report on your work. In addition, the Hellhound cannon from Thunder Horse Military Factory hasn't been sold in the international market yet, but according to our intelligence, it's excellent and may pose a threat to our cannon products. You must get close to it and get first-hand information. You're not a special agent nor a spy. It's a bit difficult for you to do this, but our special agents and spies have no way of getting close to Charlotte and the Hellhound cannon. You must complete the mission no matter what. My personal advice to you is that Charlotte likes beautiful women. That's one of his weaknesses. Do you understand what I mean? Think about what you're facing now. You're the one who destroyed our Thunder Dragon AI machine tool. If you want to be fine, you have to do something. That's it, I wish you success. Sylvia deleted the email and spaced out for a while. Suddenly, she spat at the monitor. You filthy pig, I, Sylvia, am not a prostitute. And I'm not a prostitute that you can manipulate. After venting for a while, she suddenly turned around and threw herself on the bed, covering her head with a pillow. Her perky butt was exposed to the air without any cover. The mosquito bites were red, and the crooked fabric was useless. The mature secret place seemed to be whispering about the tragic experience of the mosquito, and the boring words about the strong wind and strong light outside. Charlotte withdrew his gaze. A charcoal fire was quietly burning in his lower abdomen, but his heart was heavy. Back in Germany, he created Sylvia's human skin mask, sneaked into Rainmetal's enclosed workshop, destroyed the Thunder Dragon AI machine tool that was about to be completed, and destroyed the production line of the XL 2500 sniper rifle and Gale assault rifle. Sylvia had taken the blame for him. He left, but Sylvia undoubtedly faced the investigation of the German intelligence department as well as the internal investigation of Rainmetal. Now that Sylvia was here, she was burdened with the mission of being a commercial spy for Rainmetal, and perhaps there were some orders from the German intelligence department. However, even though he knew that her identity was no longer just a mechanic, Charlotte couldn't hate her. On the contrary, he felt a faint sense of guilt. "I'm sorry, Sylvia. I didn't mean to hurt you. I didn't have a choice at that time. Now that you're here, I won't let you complete your mission," Charlotte said softly in his heart. For the rest of the night, he thought a lot and only went to bed very late. The next morning, Charlotte called Tang Tianlong and Sherborne and proposed to meet at 101 innings. He told Tang Tianlong that he would propose his terms in 3 days because he needed time to find his father, Xia Changhe. Now that his father, Xia Changhe, had been found, he didn't need to wait 2 days to propose. After the call, Charlotte went out and saw Sylvia standing at the door of her room. She had changed into a summer work outfit from Rainmetal, a blue short-sleeved shirt, blue elastic trousers, and a pair of leatherwork shoes. Although she was dressed like that, it still couldn't hide her full and tight curve. She had the sexiness of a blue-collar woman. She seemed to be waiting for him. As soon as she saw him coming out, she greeted him. "Mr. Xia, are you free today?" Sylvia smiled. Charlotte said casually, "What's the matter?" Sylvia said fawningly, "I want to go to your company to take a look. I'm not familiar with the environment, so can you accompany me?" Charlotte said, "Sorry, I have something important to deal with today." However, before Charlotte could finish his words, Sylvia suddenly reached out and held Charlotte's arm. She was shorter than Charlotte. When she held his arm, Charlotte's arm was immediately embedded between her breasts and was immediately clamped by a soft and warm place. Not only that, she also gently shook Charlotte's arm like a spoiled little girl. "Mr. Xia, please help me. Just take me for a walk. It won't take much of your time." Her shaking made Charlotte both embarrassed and secretly happy. The fabric of his trousers also became tense, but his attitude showed no signs of loosening. "Next time, Miss Sylvia. I'm leaving soon. Mr. Xia, you." Sylvia refused to let go of Charlotte's arm. Last night, Mark Amin had given her an order and hinted that she would sacrifice her body to complete the task. This morning, she put it into action. However, Charlotte was no longer the man whose legs would go soft at the sight of a beautiful woman. Ahem. A woman's cough came from behind. Sylvia then let go of Charlotte's arm. She turned around and saw Yelena standing at the door of another room. Yelena said, "Chairman Xia, go do your thing. Leave her to me." Xiaolei nodded, grabbed his briefcase, and slipped away. "Excuse me, what did you say?" Sylvia looked at Yelena and asked in English. She couldn't understand Yelena's added Chinese. Yelena walked towards Sylvia and stopped 2 steps away. Sylvia shrugged. "Don't you speak English?" Yelena suddenly spread her legs and lifted her short skirt. Her snow-white thighs were completely exposed to the air, and there was even a piece of black silk underwear underneath. However, none of that was what Yelena wanted to show Sylvia. What she wanted to show Sylvia was an armed belt on her inner thigh, as well as an extremely sharp saber that was inserted into the belt. A woman's legs, black underwear, and a sharp military knife. It was a strange scene. "You!" Sylvia suddenly became nervous. She was inexplicably scared of Yelena. Yelena suddenly hooked Sylvia's chin and said coldly in English, "I hate Germans the most. You'd better behave yourself and stay away from him. Don't try to steal his technology, otherwise." Yelena let go of Sylvia's chin, but her palm gently swept across Sylvia's neck. Sylvia froze on the spot. What kind of secretary was this? Yelena brushed past her and didn't even look at Sylvia. Sylvia didn't move for a long time. A layer of mist quietly appeared in her azure eyes. Chapter 659. There were 3 people in Sherborne's office. In addition to Sherborne and Tang Tianlong, there was also an old man. It was a very strange old man. He was thin and gave people a feeling of weakness. However, his eyes were like the eyes of an eagle. They were sharp and powerful, making people not dare to offend him. When he first saw this old man, Charlotte suddenly had a feeling that he had seen this old man before. This feeling was very strange, but he had forgotten where and when he had seen this old man. Without waiting for him to recall, Tang Tianlong stood up and greeted him with a friendly smile on his face. Hee hee, Charlotte, I rushed over after receiving your call. I didn't even have breakfast. You don't know how anxious I was. Charlotte said with a smile, Uncle Tang, didn't you even eat breakfast? That's really my fault. I should have called you later. Don't mention breakfast. Sit down. Sherborne was also an impatient person. Charlotte sat down and shifted his gaze to the old man. He asked tentatively, May I know who this is? Tang Tianlong and Sherborne looked at each other, but neither of them introduced each other. The old man said lightly, My surname is Zongjing, and my name is Wu Kuei. Charlotte wasn't very interested in this strange name. What interested him was the reactions of Sherborne and Tang Tianlong. The two of them clearly knew the identity of this old man, but no one introduced him. Why was that? Mr. Xia, heroes come from young. I am deeply grateful that our country can produce a genius like you. Zongjing Wu Kuei praised Charlotte, but even if he was praising someone, he didn't have the slightest smile on his face. At this moment, a dynamic picture suddenly appeared in Charlotte's mind. That was the new generation core workshop of the Thunder Horse Army Factory, which was also the core workshop where the second generation of the Thunder Dragon intelligent machine tool was located. Everyone in the workshop appeared in his mind. Some faces were familiar, and some were unfamiliar. Some were talking, some were visiting, and some were peeking at women. A few seconds later, a face suddenly froze in Charlotte's mind. It was the old man in front of him, Zongjing Wu Kuei. He actually went to visit my second-generation Thunder Dragon intelligent machine tool. Who is he? Charlotte's brain moved again, and all the pictures were deduced. This was a very strange process. It was like playing back a high-definition video on a computer. Everyone's movements were retreating, be it the sound of their voices or the movement of their footsteps. Without exception, not a single one was overlooked. Soon, the playback returned to normal. In Charlotte's mind, Fan and Ling Hao were talking about something. Zongjing and Wu Kuei appeared in front of the two of them. He glanced at the two of them, and they immediately shut their mouth. Xia Lei noticed that both Fan and Ling Hao had a look of reverence on their faces. Neither of them dared to look at Wu Kuei's face. Is he the director of the Zien Bureau? This thought flashed in Charlotte's mind, and he became nervous. He didn't expect Zongjing Wu Kuei to participate in this negotiation. In his plan, he only needed to talk to Sherborne and Tang Tianlong, and then put forward the conditions. He had never expected that Wu Kuei would participate in this negotiation. In his plan, he only needed to talk to Sherborne and Tang Tianlong, and then lay out his conditions. But now, if this Zongjing Wu Kuei was really the director of the Zien Bureau, his participation in this negotiation would add a little uncertainty to this negotiation. Whether it was the replay of the memory or the judgment of identity, it was all over in the blink of an eye. Although Charlotte was nervous, he smiled and said politely, Mr. Zongjing, you flatter me. It is my honor to serve the country. Be it the replaying of his memories or his thoughts about his identity, it all ended in the blink of an eye. Although Xia Lei was nervous, he put on a smile and said politely, Old Mr. Zongjing, you flatter me. It's my honor to serve the country. Whether it was the replay of the memory or the judgment of identity, it was all over in the blink of an eye. Although Charlotte was nervous, he smiled and said politely, Mr. Zongjing, you flatter me. It is my honor to serve the country. Charlotte, isn't your father missing? Sherborne said. Charlotte said, Missing doesn't mean he's dead. He can come back if he's missing. I had always held on to the hope that one day I would be able to meet my father. If anyone is willing to fulfill this wish for me, I am willing to do anything for him. Well, Tang Tianlong coughed. Let's talk about business. Let's talk about family matters at noon, okay? Sure, Boren smiled. Yes, yes, yes. Let's talk business. Zongjing Wu Kuei's eyes were on Charlotte the whole time, not moving away for a second. Just now, when Charlotte mentioned his father, the corners of his mouth moved slightly, as if he wanted to say something, but he didn't say it in the end. Then I won't talk nonsense. What request does Charlotte have? Tell me now. Tang Tianlong really didn't talk nonsense, and brought the matter to the point. Charlotte was silent for a moment, then he smiled again. I'd better listen to the contents of this transaction first. Uncle Tang, you didn't say it very clearly on the phone last time. I want to understand such an important matter first. Tang Tianlong smiled bitterly. Charlotte, didn't I say it clearly last time? Xia Lei appeared to be very patient. Let me understand it clearly first. Okay, then I'll explain it to you in detail. Tang Tianlong said. The German government was silent for a period of time after you left. I won't go into the specific reason. You know very well that it was the bitter wine they brewed themselves. Charlotte nodded. But they won't give up. We also predicted that they would take the initiative to contact us. Sure enough, they sent a special envoy to negotiate with us a week ago. The result of the negotiation was that they used the submarine technology to exchange for your technology, including a Thunder Dragon smart machine tool. Charlotte said, I remember you said last time that our technical personnel came to our factory for a visit and a Thunder Dragon smart machine tool. How did it become my technology again? You must have remembered wrongly. I said technology exchange. This exchange includes some technology transfer. Tang Tianlong's face was slightly awkward. He really was an official with two mouths, speaking politely and verbally, speaking politely. What kind of technology? Charlotte asked. Well, it's mainly the technology of the Thunder Dragon smart machine tool. You know, what they care about the most is the technology of your smart machine tool. This time, they clearly asked for a full set of blueprints, electrical engineering, and control programs. Of course, the production technology of the XL 2500 sniper rifle and the Gale assault rifle is also included. They also want all the technology and can't hold anything back. Charlotte's mouth revealed a hint of a sneer. They really want a lot. I think they actually made a request for my Lei Long Intelligent Machine Tool 2nd generation, right? Tang Tianlong was slightly stunned and then said, Yes, they asked, but we refused. We clearly told them that the technology of the Thunder Dragon Smart Machine Tool will not be transferred. It is now a flagpole for our manufacturing industry. There is no reason to sell the flagpole. Whether it was a flagpole or any other pole, it was created by Charlotte. Now that these things were being sold, he couldn't make the decision. Then did they mention the technology of the Hellhound cannon? Charlotte asked. Tang Tianlong smiled bitterly. You're really a roundworm in the stomach of the Germans. Well, their appetite is really big. They did mention our Hellhound cannon technology, but we didn't agree. They came to beg us, not the other way around. At this time, Wu Kuei said, Mr. Xia, I know that some technology is very important to your military factories. You have to know that if they have the submarine technology, it will be more important and valuable to us. So this deal is very good for us. I hope you can look at the big picture and fulfill this good thing. The person in charge finally spoke. He might have lost his patience, or he might be dissatisfied with Charlotte's attitude. Charlotte smiled. Mr. Zongjing, of course I agree with this deal. Just like last time, didn't I also exchange the engine technology of the Typhoon for our country? If that's the case, then it's easy. Wu Kuei stared at Charlotte. I heard that you have a request, or rather, a condition. Tell me, I want to hear it. After going around in a big circle, things still had to go back to square one. Charlotte could actually say it out loud when Tang Tianlong asked the question, but he didn't do so. He also deliberately went around this circle. He had to wear down these people's patience. He wanted them to know that he was not the obedient baby they thought he was. He also had his own thoughts. Say it, you're usually very straightforward, why are you so hesitant now? Sir Boren's voice was very loud. Have you taken a fancy to a girl? It's okay, don't be shy. Just say it, and I'll be the matchmaker for you. Is it my goddaughter? Tang Tianlong stared at Sir Boren awkwardly. He was still her biological father, so when did it become up to Sir Boren to decide on Tang Yuyan's marriage? Charlotte just smiled. If he wanted to marry Tang Yuyan, why would he need Sir Boren to be the matchmaker? He only needed a phone call to ask Tang Yuyan out for dinner, a movie, a hotel room, and he could even save money on condoms. Wu Kuei, Tang Tianlong, and Sir Boren urged him, but Charlotte still didn't seem to be in a hurry. He slowly opened his briefcase and took out a few documents and a big envelope. These things were taken out, but he held them tightly in his hands, not giving them to anyone. What is it? Sir Boren asked. Charlotte didn't say, but said, I don't want fame, I don't want money, I only want a person. You really like a girl? Sir Boren's expression was very funny. Tang Tianlong laughed inexplicably. Until then, Charlotte said, I want my father. Sir Boren and Tang Tianlong were stunned. Only Wu Kuei remained calm, but a cold light flashed in his eyes. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Nights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.